What's going on, everybody? Y'all know how this works. Please give me a sound check. Let me know that you can hear me okay. Because I am exhausted. I don't know if y'all remember from my last live stream where I did some straight pull on my table with the new cloth, and I was struggling on the new cloth, and I said that I was going to try to do some more live stream, that same week. Right? I was supposed to do this live stream last week, and I was also supposed to try to stream some more straight pull last Thursday, but that didn't happen. It didn't happen because work is still killing me. I must have at least put in, I have no idea, close to 40 hours in like 3 days. So yeah, I've been super exhausted. I'm even exhausted tonight, but I don't want to put this off any more than I already have. So I can see that everybody can hear me okay, and I always want to especially give good shout outs to anybody that's watching me on Facebook. So Donovan Harris, how's it going? And I appreciate that you can hear me okay. So speaking of which, if you haven't done so already, please give the stream a thumbs up. It doesn't matter if you're on Facebook or on YouTube. If you are on Facebook, though, I really would appreciate it if you consider sharing the stream to your profiles. That way your friends and families can get to know me and hopefully learn how to play pool, or at least be entertained by me at the same time. And then, of course, maybe share it to your favorite pool groups. And, of course, everybody, y'all know how this works on YouTube. Give the stream a thumbs up. And then, of course, interact with the chat. So that way, hopefully, the YouTube algorithm picks it up. And that way, people can discover the live stream while we're streaming or after the fact. I really would appreciate it. Now, before I get started, a couple of new things here. As you can see, I redid my sponsors now. They are up above me. We have, what is it? Let me see. It's this hand, Onboard Sportswear. They are the company that makes the jerseys for the Mosconi Cup. So this is one of my jerseys that I have for myself here with my little Chris logo. And there's also onboard logos to go on it as well. And I'm recently, I guess I would say, upping my level of affiliation with Outsville. And so they are starting to get shout outs on my live streams as well. And then, of course, TaomBilliards. Now, the thing with Onboard Sportswear and Outsville is I do have discount codes with them. I'm going to learn how to do this sooner or later. So if you go to onboardsportswear.com or onboardsportswear.us and you use the discount code LilChris10, you can get 10% off your purchase. Much like if you go to Outsville.com, which is the makers of the Accu-Racks, and they've got all sorts of other types of products as well, the Great White Shark, chalk, a couple of other types of little nifty things that you can order. And if you use the discount code LIL''CHRIS, you can also get 10% off of your purchase. Let's see here. Robert Ellison, you want to know where Zelda is? I might go get him maybe during the break, like during the little intermission that I do in between each of the matches. And I'll also let everybody see Link, because Link is getting fixed tomorrow. So he's going to be out of commission for a couple of days. I always love the term that they call it getting fixed when they're not even broke. But we are going to fix him up so he cannot produce any offspring. Oh, okay. Well, fortunately or unfortunately, this does not work on Facebook. Ryan Kuntz, I hope I'm saying that correctly. You want to know what my skill level is in APA? In 8-ball, I am a 7, and in 9-ball, I am a 9. And it's actually been quite some time since I've been able to play 9-ball because there isn't a roster that can actually support me being on the team as a skill level 9, which is typically why I always have 8-ball matches to review. Hector Montalvo, yes, I still am affiliated with Kickshot Pool Gear. If you look down into the description of the YouTube box, and actually I think it's still listed, it's on Facebook as well. You'll find that I have a discount code with them as well if you go to kickshotpoolgear.com. I can try to. I think it's the same thing, but let me look real quick. I'm pretty sure it's the same thing. Yes, it's pretty much the same thing, except I don't know if discount codes are case sensitive or not. But for kick shot pool gear, it's also Lil Chris 10. Okay, let's see here. Oh, so before I get started, I have a story to tell everybody, and this is probably one of the funnier things I've ever had happen to me. Whoops. Hi. That got excited real quick. Turn that back to red. So I don't know if how many of y'all follow my Facebook page, but I recently went to my very first hockey game here in Texas. I got to see the Texas Stars versus Milwaukee, and I don't even know what their tag name is or their mascot name is or whatever. First time I've ever been to a hockey game before, so I'm not really familiar with how hockey works, other than taking the puck, shooting it up and down the ice, and trying to score a goal. Very similar to what you would do in soccer, except it's on soccer's on grass versus hockey's on ice. But the only thing I kind of understood is the what's called icing, and that is when all of the players are at one end of the rink because one team is trying to score. And if an opposing team player gets a hold of the puck and basically chucks it down to the other end of the rink where no one's around there except for the goalie, that's referred to as icing. So therefore, you have the refs will stop the match, and they'll basically do another face-off to be able to see who gains control of the puck. And that's about it. So I have to say, like, for the first half of the game, to me it just wasn't all that exciting, because I just kind of thought it was there was too many stoppages to where, because I'm thoroughly following that puck around because it's very, very fast paced. If none of y'all have ever been to a hockey match, so I'm diligently following that puck going all over the place. But for the first half, there were just so many stoppages that weren't even icing related. So that, to me, that just kind of took things away. But then on the last half of the match, there wasn't really a whole lot of stoppage. And unfortunately, Hector, there weren't any fights. It was like, maybe that's one of the reasons why you end up going to watch a hockey game, is that you go there to see if a fight's going to break out between the players. Or just like if you go to watch NASCAR, you don't go watch a bunch of cars making left-hand turns. You wait to see if a wreck is going to occur. But like I said, during the last half of the match, it was pretty exciting. They're going all over the place. Texas ended up losing. I think it was 2-3. Now, the only other thing that I personally know about hockey is basically what I've seen from the movie The Mighty Ducks. So I'm making a bunch of Mighty Duck references based on what I'm seeing happen throughout the match. So whenever I saw a player grab a hold of the puck and hide behind the goalie while he's waiting for his team to set up, I'm shouting like "Flying V!" And I could see a couple of people are around me are laughing. There's like some kids behind me that are having a really good time. They're hooting and hollering. One kid was just like, "Hit him like a buffalo!" I'm like, whatever he said, just having a good time. And then towards the end, when it was 2-2, Texas was really trying to scramble. It was 2-3. Texas was losing, and so like within the last minute or two, I'm just sitting there I'm getting excited. I'm shouting, "Hustle! Get the puck, scored! Like, try to go into overtime, right?" And they don't. They end up losing. So everybody's getting up to leave, and me and 5 other people, we went there as a group. We're sitting down. We're pretty much waiting for everybody to leave, and then we'll get up and leave rather than trying to deal with a bunch of traffic. And this gal that was sitting in front of us, that is a Texas fan because she had a Texas jersey on, stands up, turns around, looks me dead in the eye, and says, "You're really effing annoying." And I was starstruck. Like, I was also a little tipsy because prior to going to the hockey rink, we were eating some Korean barbecue, and I don't know how many bottles of soju we drank, and so we were all in a pretty happy mood. But this gal is just sitting there like seriously mean mugging me, and what was really funny was, I'm assuming it was her boyfriend or her husband. He's just trying to like push her along, like go, because when she first said that to me, and she looked like she was really upset. All I could do was just smile at her and say, "Congratulations, have a good night." And when when her husband's trying to push her along, oh, holy crap. Zach, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. I really do appreciate it, bud. So while this guy is trying to push this gal along, she's still looking at me and just mean mugging me the whole entire time. And I'm just like, just keep on walking. You're not going to do anything stupid. And the funny thing is that everybody that was around me was like, man, you're a lot more grown up than I am. And I was like, well, look, I don't want to say anything that's going to get the guy involved. I imagine whoever she was with is probably a little embarrassed because of the way she was acting. Because I'm sitting there thinking to myself, what in the world could I have done that was so annoying at a hockey game or let alone at a sporting event? I mean, people are hooting and hollering, yelling and screaming. There was a thing where, I don't know, I guess you buy like a fake puck, and they did this contest where they had this target in the middle of the darn rink, and people in the audience are chucking their pucks to see who can land in the closest. I got hit by one of those pucks from whoever was behind us. I didn't make it into the ring. It hit me in the back of the neck. So fortunately, it wasn't a real puck. Otherwise, I probably would have got knocked out. But I'm just sitting here thinking to myself, like, what could I have done that everybody else in the darn rink that wasn't doing that was getting on this lady's nerve? I was really trying to understand that. But given the fact that I wasn't doing anything other than I was hooting and hollering just like everybody else, she just must have been in a bad mood. So all I knew was, I ain't gonna let her put me in a bad mood. So that's why all I could do is just smile at her, which is one thing I always like to say to people when they, and it's easy. What I'm about to say, it's easier said than done. And that is, of course, you're not in control of what other people do. You're only in control of what you do. All right. So I'm not in control of this lady getting upset and turning around and just taking it out on me. What I am in control of is how I respond, because clearly I could have responded a whole lot ruder than what I did. And I could have been cruel and, basically, I probably could have said something that would have also triggered her boyfriend or husband, and I didn't want to do that. I was already having a good time, and there was no way that some stranger that I've never even seen before, that I'm probably never going to see again, is going to ruin my night, and let alone all of my friends' night as well. Because when it was all said and done, we all got together and started talking about it, and we're all just laughing about it at the same time. But at any rate, like, I just had to tell that story because I just thought it was amazing. It was probably, I think it was literally my first encounter with a Karen, because that's literally what I'm going to label it as. And it was just funny. It was just funny. And I just had to share that with everybody. Okay, let's see here. Is there anything else I need to mention before we get started? So today we're going to be reviewing APA matches. Like I said, I was supposed to do this last week. But work's been working me hard lately. I'm just trying to meet deadlines and stuff. So, but I have the moment today. I gotta highlight this. Thank you. I really do appreciate that. Is it Les or Lay? I wouldn't be too sure how to pronounce it, but Les Wayne. I really do appreciate that, but I'm not always that nice. I mean, it just really depends. But considering the situation, there was just no reason for me to be upset. And all I know is that it probably didn't help her that I didn't get upset. She probably wanted me to be upset, but I didn't get upset. Doug Quora, you want to know what my occupation is? I'm a software developer. So, I mean, where I do this is also where I work, because I do work from home. So, like, right here is my monitors and stuff for my personal computer. My tower is literally over here on this side. My work computer is right here. All right, so I can literally do everything all at once. I'm working, I'm checking YouTube, checking Facebooks, doing social media stuff, and working all at the same time. So, but like between it was between Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of last week. I must have been doing like close to 12-hour shifts, if not longer, trying to, scramble together to put, to write code to meet the deadlines, doing testing, fixing any bugs that are coming up in testing, and so on and so forth. And we got to a good spot. Like, all that work paid off, and we got to a good spot, which is why I'm able to do this today, even though I'm still exhausted. Okay, let's see here. And I see we got some other IT folks and some software engineers in here. This is awesome. So cool. We're all software engineers, and we're all pool players. We all have something in common, one way or the other. All right, so let's go ahead and let me switch over, and let's go ahead and start the first match. So give me just a second. Switch here. Okay, let's turn these back on. And you know what? We're going to turn this on. There we go. And okay, there we go. So in today's matchup here, I am playing up against a skill level 7. Now, I've had this young man on my channel a couple of times. He's actually been looking forward to seeing this particular recording, because I think the past couple of recordings, I think the first time I did a review of our match here, it was actually a nail biter, and I think, but I took the victory. I think it was 5-4. But the next time we faced off, he was having an off night, and I ended up beating him pretty badly. So, without going into any spoilers, though, if you at least saw the thumbnail, this match is going to focus on simple mistakes and how costly those simple mistakes can be, whether it's from me or whether it's from my opponent. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to attempt to commentate, for anybody that's new to my streams, I'm going to attempt to commentate what's happening during the match and try to remember what in the world I was thinking about when I shot particular shots or particular patterns that I tried to play. And then, of course, we're going to try to commentate on my opponent as well, because not only are we looking at to see if there's anything I can improve on, or if there's anything that my opponent can improve on, let alone if y'all find that y'all are having very similar issues, like from similar issues like myself or my opponent, then whatever we come up as a collective not only helps me out, not only helps my opponent out, but also helps you out as well. And that's the reason why I do this. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Let's start with the lag and see who's going to break first. I'm the 2 ball, and that looks like the 15 ball, so it looks like I won the lag, so I'll be breaking first. Put a little asterisk next to my name. Okay, before I get started, if anybody's been following my channel, there are 3 particular ways that I try to break, and usually there's only 2 of them that I'm doing primarily. The first one, if you've seen my breaking an 8-ball rack 2 ways video, is what I like to refer to as the classic break. Now, I'm not doing the classic break here, but I'll go ahead and explain what it is. And that is where you put the cue ball 2 diamonds up from the short rail and 1 diamond out. So basically the cue ball would be somewhere right over here instead of here. And you would cut the head ball on the left side. Since I'm breaking from the left, if I was breaking on the right, I'd be cutting the head ball on the right. And I want to pull my cue ball over to the side rail and back out like this. The expectation is I'm hoping to get the head ball to go into the side pocket. That would at least be the expectation. There's a couple of things that can happen as well, but the head ball is the primary target. Except this way, what you see me doing here is what's referred to as a pop break. And basically what you're going to see is the cue ball is literally going to pop off of the table. So if you're able to tell, you should hopefully be able to see the amount of elevation that I have on my cue, as I have a very, very high bridge, and my elbow is also way up in the air. So my cue literally looks like this. I don't know if you can barely see the shadow line that's right here next to my arm to show how much distance there is between my cue and the rail, because my cue is literally pointing all the way down here, which might make you think that I'm hitting the cue ball with draw, but I'm really not. What's going to happen is right at the last second, and actually because of all the elevation, when I hit the cue ball is not going to roll across the table over towards the rack. It's going to skip its way over to the rack. And what I'm trying to do is pick the correct amount of power, or timing as they like to call it, to where I want the cue ball to hit the rack when it's off of the table. Anytime you've ever seen a cue ball fly off the table, that's because it struck the rack when it's not on the slate of the table. And I'm trying to do this on purpose because what I would like to happen is for the cue ball to go straight at the rack, hit it, pop into the air, land somewhere near the middle of the table. It might bounce back a little bit or it might dribble forward a little bit, but hopefully land somewhere right here. And when I'm doing that, my targets that I'm expecting to go in would be the second row or the corner balls to go 4 rails around like this into these pockets, like so. After that, anything else is luck that could happen to fall in because we're using a regular rack. So I can't be guaranteed of whether or not how many gaps are in the rack, where the gaps are. So all I'm really relying on is a head-on hit. So that way I'm trying to spread the force out into the rack as much as I can. And there are some target balls that I would expect to fall if the entire rack was frozen, but if they don't, they don't, and that would mostly be due to the gaps that are inside the rack. So the tricky part about all of this is that since I'm elevated down onto the cue ball, if I were to completely follow through the cue ball, my cue stick would end up into the table, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to damage the table. So what you're going to see is at the last second, like the moment I strike the cue ball, I'm going to drop my elbow and you're either going to see the tip go straight across or you might actually see it come up at an angle like this because I might drop my elbow too much. All because I don't want to hit the felt of the table. But watch how the cue ball pops into the air. You see how it pops back? Now I got kicked by another ball, so that's why it's basically flying all over the place. But let me do this, slow it down 1 frame at a time, right about here. So I don't know if you can tell, but you can see the shadow right there. The cue ball is already in the air. So it looks like I literally launched it, like I jumped it into the rack, because once it strikes the rack, then now you can see it fly into the air like so. And the weight of the rack by itself, physics, is pushing the cue ball back. And all I could hope is that it stops near the middle of the table, but you can see the 7 ball comes and kicks the cue ball out of the way. Now I saw a stripe fall over here, so I did make a ball, so I'm going to be stripes. And now what stripe was it though? It looks like it was the 11 ball. I think I saw a question. Let's see, ASD, you're asking, are these 7-foots or 9-footers? This is 7-foot tables. These are, our local league is played on bar boxes. Let's see here. Hector, you're saying on your cut break, do you try to make the 6 in the upper right corner? Just curious. You're talking about this corner here though, right? The opposite corner from which I'm breaking from? Because if that's true, I'm not expecting that ball to fall in. Primarily because I think my angle of approach that I'm coming into the head rack is still too much of an angle. If anything, because you see, like, look where the 6 ball went. The 6 ball went this way instead of this way, and that's definitely going to be because of just accidental gaps. I mean, there should almost be no way that the head ball goes in the same direction from which you're breaking from, unless, of course. What I did here was I cut the, I ended up crossing the rack. Now, hold on a second. So you're saying on the top right, so let me go back. So, or are you talking about this? You want to see the 6 ball do this to go here, but you're saying the top corner. I'm not going to understand how the 6 ball is going to go into either of these pockets, Hector, so I'm not entirely sure. If I'm doing the cut break, I'm trying to make the head ball into the opposite side pocket from which I'm breaking from. If I'm doing the cut break, but I'm not in this case. Okay, so let's let this finish on. And right here. Now, I'm in the process of trying to actually make a recorded video where I'm about to do exactly what I'm talking about here. And that is, what do I do every time I come to the table, especially if I make a ball in the break, if I'm going to try to break and run the table. So all I do here is I come to the table. Since I know I'm stripes, in APA, you have to play what you make, whereas in BCA, the table would be open. Because granted, if I were solids instead of stripes, I mean, I'm probably running the table. And when we look at the table, the eight ball would go over here, right? But I'm not solids. I'm stripes. So what I have to do, or at least what I do when I come to the table, is I look and see where every one of my balls are at. And the first thing I can identify is there are no trouble spots. There are no clusters. There's nothing difficult that I really have to worry about. The only thing that kind of stands out is this ball right here. And some of y'all might be, well, why? What's wrong with that ball? It goes directly into a pocket. Sure, it goes directly into a pocket, but it blocks this ball here. And do I really want to play a combination? I will if I have to, but if I can get this ball here out of the way, then this ball will now have a direct path to a pocket. So basically, all I'm trying to do is from here is figure out how I'm going to run the table. And typically the way I like to do that is to think backwards. And what I mean by that is when we look and see that here is the 8 ball, where could I possibly play the 8 ball? I can't tell if the 8 ball can go here. I don't know if the 1 ball is blocking or not, let alone we can see that the 3 ball is pretty much blocking a lot of areas that's going to allow me to be able to shoot the 8 ball into this corner pocket. So chances are this corner pocket is off limits. I can shoot it into this pocket here. But as we see, this ball is also blocking the 8. It's blocking my stripe, and it's also blocking the 8 ball. But once I move this ball out of the way, then I should be good to go to shoot this ball over here. If I choose to shoot this ball into this pocket, what would be the best ball to shoot at prior to the 8 ball that allows me to shoot the 8 ball into this corner pocket? That ends up being my 13 ball, because I can play the 13 into the side, kind of just let the cue ball dribble forward, not get hooked by the 6, and then I should be able to play the 8. Well, then what ball is going to allow me to get position on the 13? This is where it starts to get a little tricky because of this guy right here. This also kind of becomes an issue. I have this nice grouping right here, and then this isolated guy down here. So it's really a matter of when do I get this guy off the table, and then I still have to answer the question, what ball is going to allow me to get position on the 13 ball? And that's I usually try to do that, as quick as I can. Sometimes sometimes it takes me, up to a minute to figure all this out, and sometimes I'm able to just spot it like right away. If you feel that these are things that you don't do when you approach the table, I would highly encourage that you start practicing them. It's going to make you play slower, for sure, but that's why you have to practice it, because then the more you practice it, the quicker you're gonna get at it. So, having said all that, I honestly don't remember what ball I started with. I know how I tried to end. So here you see, I come to the table, you're gonna see me start walking around and trying to, one, identify where every ball is gonna go, and then start trying to build a pattern on how I'm gonna shoot. Now, chances are I would have to think I'm gonna start with the 15 ball, and then maybe move to the 12, because I said the 12 is a trouble ball since it blocks the 8 and the 10. So it looks like I'm playing the 15, probably just some top spin, maybe a twist of right. Never mind, it's probably just top spin since I ran into the 14. And so now when we look, the 14 is most likely going to be next, and then I'm going to shoot the 12. Okay, so here's the 14. This is probably with some stun right. Yep, that way I can just like dribble out towards the middle of the table. That allows me to take the 12. You can see I got some low right on this one. I'm probably gonna, I think that's the 10 ball there. Come on the other side of the 10 ball. I don't think I wanted to bump into it, but it's no big deal since I bumped into it, and it now has access to this pocket as well. Because you don't want to bump into balls if you don't have to. So here's the interesting part, because you can see like, well, why not shoot the 9? Well, I mean, clearly that's an option. But how difficult do we think it is to transition from the 9 ball? If I were to shoot the 9 ball into this pocket, how difficult do we think it is to transition from the 9 ball to either the 10 or the 13, right? Because that's what you have to think about. Could I make the 9? Yes. Could I transition from the 9 to the 10? Maybe. Could I transition from the 9 to the 13? Also, maybe. Just, you have to be able to know what you're capable of doing and what you're not capable of doing. And based on that, that's really what's going to drive to make your decision. So that's why you're going to see me shoot the 10 first. Draw back to try to get nice and flat on the 9. And that way I can try to draw back basically over here to get flat on the 13. Now, from the 9 to the 13, that's probably not the most idealistic thing that you'd want to do, because clearly if I shoot this 9 in next to last to get position on the 13, look at all the things that can go wrong. Because what happens if my cue ball stops here? Like, I might have a shot at the 13, but then I got to release my cue ball instead of being able to just roll my cue ball into the 13 to get position on the 8. What happens if I draw too far? I'm now hooked. Right? There's a lot of things that could go wrong. But at this point in time, I have to be able to accept those consequences that could happen. So in reality, we probably could have done this a little bit better, I would think, when I look at this after the fact. And that means I probably have to go back to this shot right here. Because the more I think about it, when I shot the 14 ball in, look where my cue ball lands. If my cue ball would have been maybe a little bit further down, then I could possibly shoot the 12 ball in, draw the cue ball right down the rail and get nice and flat on this 9 ball, or even have a small angle and go from the 9 to the 10, because from the 10 I might be able to shoot it in and then just do this kind of position for the 13. That might make it easier. Maybe. This again, I'm just looking at ideas, always understanding what kind of ideas could I have done, or could I have done this a little bit better, rather than taking a big risk going from the 9 to the 13. Or should I have basically come up with some pattern that got me to the 9 right away and then deal with this other stuff? Now, having said that, let's go back to this. So, hope what I'm saying is making sense. Let's get the 12 gone. Hector, you're saying you would have shot the 13 first? Well, where are you playing the 8 ball then, if you're going to take what I chose to be my key ball? So you can see here, bottom spin on the 10 ball. I'd like to get nice and flat on that 9 ball. Oh, I even had a cut angle. All right, so look at this shot here that I have for the 9 ball. All right, lots of stuff can go wrong. I have to make sure, one, that I do a pinpoint draw and land right there, right where you saw me indicate. What is this? This is about what? 3 feet, maybe? I got to draw the cue ball back 3 feet. Well, I got it. This looks good, right? I got it. So here I am. Here's another thing I always try to suggest to people. Do you see what I'm doing here? I am basically coming over here and looking to see what my shot at the 8 ball would look like. So that way I have a really good idea of where I would like to place my cue ball after the fact, and then be able to shoot the 8 ball. And this is the wonderful thing about pool, right? You do all this great and wonderful planning, all this great and wonderful execution, try to just roll this ball in, and somehow I shot it straight into the point. Welcome to pool. I am starstruck. I was literally, you see it, I was I have no excuses other than, like, I'm thinking, like, I'm going to hit the jaw of the pocket and the ball's going to go in. But clearly that doesn't happen. Now, here, before I let my opponent shoot, I want to poll the audience. If you're my opponent, how do you win from here? How do you win from here? This is always a good comment, actually, because I say this all the time, and sometimes this happens to be true. I honestly don't think I did, Max, but you are right. There are plenty of times where I take a shot for granted. And I know that that's also one of the biggest reasons why I end up missing shots that I would typically say to myself that, 9 out of 10 times I should be making them, right? There's maybe a small handful of shots to where it's like, I'm guaranteed to make the shot. But then the vast majority of shots, I never try to say 100%. I always like, 9 out of 10, 90%, 95%. Like I'm going to make the shot. And there's going to be that one time that it just happens to pop up and I end up missing the shot. But if you're my opponent and this just happened, if you were my opponent and this just happened to you, you saw that I was about to run out. I made a simple mistake, hence the name of the title for this match here. How do you run this out? AAA Skeet, you're saying 3-1, 4-5, 6, or 2-6-8. Let's have a look here. 3, which means maybe a stop shot, maybe a stun shot, somewhere over here. 3-1, and that means you stun out for the 4. You never want to be flat on a ball unless you absolutely have to. In this case, you actually could be flat, so it doesn't matter because you play the 4 into this corner, which most likely means you're going to play the 5 over here. But if the 2 is next, that means... Let me clean this up. If the 2 is next, you probably want your cue ball maybe right here then. You don't want to get blocked by the 8 for sure, because it looks like you want to shoot the 5 into the side, roll forward, hit the rail, and come out like this. So that way then you could do the... You forgot the 7 ball. There's the 7 ball that's right here, but you can do 2, 7, 6, 8. And I like that you choose the 6 ball to go here into the side pocket, because then that obviously leads you to the 8. That's one. That's one. I don't really see a lot of risks in that one. Really, the only risk I see is the 4 to the 5. Because it's one of those, like, this 8 ball becomes really big depending upon the type of angle that you might end up getting on the 5. Because I don't think you want to get above the 5. I mean, you could, right? But if you do that, then if you cut the 5 into the side, your cue ball comes down here. Or do you want to risk getting position on the 5 to shoot the 5 into the corner, so that way you can roll forward for position on the 2 and then do 2, 7, 8. Maybe that's a possibility. Let's see here. Rob Christian, you're saying 3-1, 4-6, 7, 2, 5. So 3-1, 4-6, 7, 2, 5. Okay, so that looks like close to what AAA Skeet did. We got the 3 ball here. Keep the cue ball somewhere in this area. 1. Come over here for the 4. Play the 4. But now you're saying instead of going from the 4 to the 5, you want to go from the 4 to the 6. I don't really have an issue with that, because from the 6, then you're saying play the 7 in the side most likely, which means the 2 goes down here, which means the 5 goes up here. That allows you to play a stop shot on the 5 ball, hopefully. Play the 8 ball over there. So I like how everybody's picking a key ball to where hopefully all you have to do is just stop the cue ball. That's generally what you want to do. You want to try to, if you're able to, and if the table allows you to, keep your cue ball movement down to a minimum at best. If you're able to, keep it to a minimum at best. So let's look at one more, and then we're going to go ahead and see what my opponent does. Robert Allison, you're saying 7, 5, 6, 4, 1, 2, 3, 8. So 7 ball means that we're going to roll the 7 in. We can see that's a little bit of a cut angle, so our cue ball kind of just drifts over here. So then we play the 5 ball. Probably just roll forward here. We can cut the 6 into the side. That allows us to hit this rail here, and then we do 4 like you said. Ooh, but from the 4, what? We're saying 4, 1. Where are we playing the 1? Are we trying to do this and play the 1 down here like this? I think that's the only part I'm personally getting confused on, because the 1 does not go into this pocket. It's blocked by the 8. And so if this is correct, that means we stop somewhere right around here. Let me clean this up. If that is correct, and we play from the 4 to the 1 like this, we play the 1 down into this corner pocket, roll forward for the 2, shoot the 2 in, which means we have to draw back for the 3 to go into this corner here. I'd be curious if oh, you're assuming the 1 passes by the 8. So yeah, the 1 does not pass by the 8 on this one here. So we'd have to alter things up a little bit. So this is good. I like this. Now, let's see what my opponent actually does though. Now, I advise my opponent every time he asks me, like, what could I have done better, you know, and stuff when our matches are over, and I give him the advice. And I've been watching him slowly adapt his game and start taking the advice. So he starts with the 1, but I'm just not sure if all that movement was necessary. Right? He goes to the rail and back out. Like, I would think that he could have just stunned his cue ball right here. And he has a plethora of options if he does that. Because now he's got a really thin cut shot on the 1, he's got an easy shot on the 6, and he's got an easy shot on the 5. So he's going 3-6, rolls the 6 in. That gives him the 4 ball or the 5 ball. Excuse me. Okay, we got the 4 ball, gets position on the 5. I wonder when he's going to address that 1 ball, though. The 1 ball going into this corner pocket. Maybe he can do it after the 5. Okay, so I'm going to stop here because do we see the difference that we have in players, right? Players do things differently. I personally liked, you know, having that 5 as a key ball or having the 6 as a key ball. I mean, heck, even the 1 ball being a key ball is okay if you get the correct angle on it, because you can just stun out and then shoot the 8 in the corner as well. But basically a ball that's near the 8 ball, unless the 8 ball is like sitting in a pocket, because then you can almost use any ball as a key ball. But you can see everybody plays differently. That doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, what he's doing right or what we're suggesting is right. We have options. They're all options. The thing that boils everything down is, how do we subjectively prove that his option, my option, or any of the options that we saw here are better than one another? Because being better doesn't necessarily mean that the other one is wrong. What I would typically like to say is, if he were to set this pattern back up, how many times is he going to be able to successfully do it versus how many times is he going to be able to successfully do maybe my pattern or any of the patterns that any of the viewers suggested? But in the given moment, all that really matters is, do you execute successfully? I mean, that's usually what we're going to focus on, is, are we able to successfully execute what we come up with at the time? All right, so it looks like he's going to take the 1. See, now, does he mean to bump into the 7? Like that, you know, like you really have to ask yourself, did he have that planned from the get-go, or did all of this just kind of come up as he was shooting? Now, this is all working out, though, because look at that. That friendly little bump actually helped him out, right? Because now all he has to do is roll the 7 in, and he's got position on the... Oh, it looks like he rolled it just a little too far, but he should be okay here. I'm going to take the 8 into the top left corner pocket. And right there, he's confirming with me, like, is it okay that we call the pocket? Because typically in APA, you're supposed to take some sort of personal item and mark the pocket that you're going in. But I told him it was perfectly fine to call it. And you can see there, what was supposed to be a break and run for myself. Digital Terror Records, thank you so much for subscribing to my YouTube channel. I really do appreciate it, bud. What was supposed to be a break and run for myself, and one simple mistake of missing that darn 13 ball that was practically a straight in shot, and I shot it right into the point of the side pocket, cost me the entire rack. But we seem to think here, like some people seem to think that when he bumped into that 7 ball, that's unintended, right? Because why would you bump into a ball that's not in trouble? Like, the only time you, quote unquote, really want to bump into a ball is because they're in trouble, or you're trying to bump into one of your opponent's balls because you want that to break your cue ball. You want bumping into your opponent's ball to stop your cue ball to get position on another ball. And maybe sometimes you also want to bump into your ball to also stop the cue ball as well. But when all of the balls are out in the open, the only thing you really want to rely on is just cue ball control, right? And just put the cue ball where you want to put it in order to be able to shoot the balls into some sort of designated pockets. But as we saw here, because we all seem to agree that bumping into that 7 ball was not probably part of his plan. It was probably part of his plan you know, after the fact. But if he came up with an entire run out at the very beginning of his shooting, we can pretty much all think that he did not think I'm going to do A, B, C, D, E, F, and then bump into the 7, and then I'm out. It's I'm going to do whatever, and I'm not going to bump into any ball, and I'm still going to get out. And as we all know, when we come up with all those different types of plans, sometimes things don't work out according to plan. Sometimes our cue ball control is a little off. We hit a little too hard. We hit a little too soft. We put too much draw. We put too much top spin or side spin. Right? Things always go a little wrong, and we have to play some sort of audible in order to be able to finish the rack, just like my opponent did here. All right, so let's speed up. Let's see how my opponent breaks. Now, he likes to do the second ball break, so he's typically going for the 8-ball break, trying to make the 8-ball on the break, because in APA, if you make the 8-ball on the break, it does count as a win. But as you can see, he ends up breaking dry. So I get to come to the table and then pretty much rinse and repeat everything that I just said. What do I do when I come to the table? I always look at everything. So let's do that. This is an open table. This is an open table here. All right, we've got 3 stripes here. So where are the rest of the stripes? We got this one here and these 3 right here. So when we look at this, like this is the worst stripe of them all. Like what in the world am I gonna do with this stripe here? It doesn't look like I even have a ball that I could use to break it out. So when I look, just from seeing that alone, that makes me probably not want to shoot stripes. Let's look at solids. Solid here, and basically all the solids that are right here. So really, I don't really particularly see an issue with solids, with the exception of the 7-ball, right? Doesn't look like the 7-ball can go into this corner pocket, clearly because it's blocked by the 9. But what I already see here is that I do have a shot at this 4-ball. And if I shoot this 4-ball into the side pocket, maybe I can get something happening with the 4-ball. I don't know if I'm going to run into the 9, but if I do run into the 9, that could be a good thing. The 9-ball hopefully will get out of the way of the 7-ball, and the 7-ball will go here. Corey Shemtov, I hope I said that correctly. Thank you so much for subscribing to my YouTube channel. So if this ends up happening, then hopefully everything will just work out from there. We'll just have to wait and see. But I do remember that the 4-ball ends up being my opening shot. So now that I've assessed that I don't like stripes because of this, and I've already at least picked out a shot that I'm going to start with, I don't necessarily plan an entire run out from here. Not from this position, because first I have to establish my set. Once I establish my set, then I'll probably reassess and try to figure out, can I run the entire table? Since I'm bridged over a ball, we're just using topspin. And like I said, I ended up dislodging the 7-ball. Not so much to where I moved the 9-ball to where I could shoot the 7-ball down here, but since I pushed the 7-ball further away from the rail, it should be able to go into the side pocket as well. I need to reset this, and I just dropped the 4-ball. So now, see, like I've claimed my set. Notice I don't immediately just start going into shooting. I walked around and looked at a couple of things, and then now I think I've already figured out what the rest of my game plan is going to be. 6-ball into the side pocket. That was pretty much a stun shot, so that way I can go ahead and get rid of the 7. Since you did hear me say that the 7-ball was kind of an issue. I bumped it further away from the rail, and I'm actually able to shoot it into the side pocket. Let's go ahead and take care of it. I think there I was checking to see where do I need to be to make the 1-ball next. This looks like a little bit of a draw shot here. So that gave me position for the 3. So now, from here, I can only wonder, well, what the heck is the rest of my pattern? Let's have a look. What could I possibly do? The first thing that comes to mind, and because I'm not really remembering what my end pattern was. Let's see here. AAA Skeet, you're saying 32518. That's kind of what I was thinking. I'm only curious if I actually did do that though. 3, 2, roll forward a little bit. We got to shoot the 5 like this, but then we got to get our cue ball to do a whole lot of maneuvering to get down here like this maybe. Or I don't know, maybe if I get flat, maybe I can hit the rail like this and come out like this. I don't know. The whole idea is the one ball would probably go into the side pocket, and then the 8 ball would go up here. That's the first thing I came up with just by looking at this. However, I don't think I did that. I think I did 3, 1, 2, 5, 8. Because the reason for that is you already heard me say, like, well, when I shoot the 5 ball, I have to make sure that I get somewhere out into the open to get position on the 1. Well, if I'm going to do this anyway, let's just get rid of the 1, because as long as I get anywhere out here, I'm going to have position on the 8. So I'm pretty sure that's what I did. I'm pretty sure that's what I did. Let's find out. Or let me rephrase that. That's what I try to do. See right there, I've already thought that many shots ahead. Like, where do I want my cue ball to be when I shoot this 5 ball? That's how far ahead I've already thought. So we got some draw on this cue ball here. Yeah, so I got to be taking that 1 ball out. Draw again. Just a touch hit, really. I don't want that cue ball rolling towards that 9 ball too much. Kind of like that. Now hopefully I can just roll this ball in. Get the angle I need on the 5. Well, if I'm on the rail, that makes it easier. Because now I can kind of just stun out to the rail and come out. So that's gonna be like this. I think some left spin. Or is it center left? Yeah, because I want to spin past that stripe. So I could have left the 1 ball there, right? Because look, I was like, remember the 1 ball was somewhere right here. I'd shoot the 1 on the side, so I could have left it there. And then there. I'm able to capitalize on that rack there. It's now tied 1-1. So how many of y'all would have done 3, 2, 5, 1, 8? Because that's the first thing that I saw until you saw me do 3, 1, 2, 5, 8. Because clearly things could have broken down whether I go from the 5 to the 8 or if I would have left the 1 there from the 5 to the 1. There's a breakdown on both of those shots to where I could not have gotten position. And I think that's the only reason why I ruled that, or I ruled out just, let's go ahead and take the 1 ball out anyway, since the transition from the 5 is coming into that area anyway. All I have to do is worry about getting position on the 8, rather than trying to get position on the 1. All right, so let's see if this pop break is any better. Since I got kicked by a ball last time. Well, that's a little better. You see how it kind of just squatted in the middle of the table? Now, what balls fell, though, and where were they at? Let's have a look. Okay, the 1 ball was the head ball. It got, like, kicked by, like, 2 different balls, and this 6 ball that's in the 3rd row makes its way over to the side pocket. Did it get kicked around as well? How often do you see that? I'm pretty sure quite a few of y'all are very familiar with the balls that are in the 2nd row tracking towards the side pockets. How often do you see the 3rd row track straight towards the side pocket? Right? Exactly. Exactly, Mac. Never. This would never happen if this were a template rack. That would never happen. Okay, let's see. So I did see the 6 drop, and we saw the 1 drop, so that means I'm solids. Oh, oh, let's see here. What in the world? This is terrible. And actually, I think I was getting, if I remember correctly, I thought I made a solid and a stripe, and I was getting ready to run stripes. And then I counted all the balls. Like, wait a minute. Like I made, and then I saw there was only 5 solids and 7 stripes, and then I caught myself because I almost committed a foul shooting at the wrong ball. Now, this kind of stinks because I definitely remember this rack. I definitely remember this rack because I want y'all to remember this ball right here, this 7 ball, right here. And so, let's see here. What would have been the best thing for me to do? Let's see, Robert Allison. You're suggesting 4, 5, 2, 3, 7, and then the 8. I like that. I mean, I really do. And then AAA Skeet, you're pretty much suggesting the same thing, right? I think we all can agree, though. I think we all can agree that shooting the 2 here and trying to do this is really risky, right? Because this 10 ball is really big. I mean, maybe it's ideal that I run into the 10 ball, right? I think my only issue, if I run into the 10 ball, that means I'm on the wrong side of the shot line for the 3 ball, which means my cue ball drifts this way. Because we want to be able to shoot the 7 into the side pocket. That way we can shoot the 8 ball over here. So when you look at stuff like this, exactly, Robert Allison, the 2 to the 3 becomes the key shot. If I mess up shooting the 2 to 3, and that's if I even do this pattern. I don't remember if I do the pattern, but hopefully we all understand that if we mess up transitioning from the 2 to the 3, the run is probably ruined at that point. And really, like, I always say this. If you don't think you can run the table, you should not even try to run the table. You should pretty much just, like, play some defensive shots, put a ball in front of a pocket and block the pocket, etc., etc. So I really like the patterns there, Robert Allison and AAA Skeet. I don't remember if that's what I did, though. Let's see, what did I do, though? Right there, like, see? I'm already looking, like, can I get the 3 to go into the corner pocket here? But then look at this ball here, and you see me pointing at the 7. Like, I don't like the 7 at all. So I start with the 4. What am I doing here? Just stunning out? Ooh, okay. I'm not doing 4-5. Looks like I'm doing 4-2. That was like a little bit of draw left. Oh, I'm going to try to get flat on this 5 ball. So there, right? Let's go back and look at this. This is, I always like doing this, trying to remember what direction I'm facing. So that was with top left. So you can see I screwed that up there. So the objective, we're all on the same page as far as the 3 and the 7 is concerned. But the objective was to be able to shoot the 2 ball into the corner pocket and go 2 rails out like this and get nice and flat on this 5 ball. That way I can roll the 5 ball into the corner and try to just push the cue ball past the 10 ball and get on the good side of the 3 ball to be able to play the 3 here, the 7 here, and then the 8. But as y'all saw, I got nestled up right next to the 5 ball. So I ended up shooting this shot too hard. All right, so this becomes like, the 2 to the 5 and then the 5 to the 3. I have 2 key transitions, and I screwed up one of them clearly. And my first notion was like, I'm gonna go ahead and cut this ball. I'm like that close to the darn 5 ball, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm gonna go ahead and slice it back the other way. But here is definitely a skill that I know everybody needs to learn. Be able to just barely nudge the cue ball like that. Just barely nudge the cue ball. Now my opponent makes a good hit. All right, so now I'm just like, what do I do? What do I do here? Right, because this is a spot that I hate to be in, to where like, where or I would prefer not to be in. Like, because now I have to start coming with it to where, like, we already see that this 7-ball ain't doing nothing for me now, right? Like, because, like, the 7-ball has to go here. I can't shoot the 7-ball here. I can't bank the 7-ball into the cross-side pocket, and there's no way I'm getting the cue ball right here in order to shoot the 7-ball into this pocket here, right? But look where I'm at. I'm in position to shoot the 3-ball down here, which means I have no choice but to try to get position on the 7, because we know my cue ball is going to go this way if I shoot the 3. So can I hit the rail and come back to be able to have some sort of cut shot on the 7? If I don't do that, I'm chasing after the 7, right? Because I'm playing up against another skill level 7. Do you think if that skill level 7 thinks that he can't run this out, he's just going to hide his cue ball somewhere? Like, that's the decision I have to face with at this point here. Mac Turf. Why would it be frowned on? I made a legal hit. I hit the cue ball. The cue ball hit one of my object balls, and then something hit a rail. Why would that be considered why would that be frowned upon? Or is it just because I played a safety? Is that what you're asking about? So as we see there, right, I missed the 3-ball, and then look at the shot I would have had on the 7. Like a ridiculously thin cut shot to the side pocket, and really ask yourself, do you want to shoot this? Like, would you really want to shoot this 7 into the side pocket like that? Or would you rather the cue ball be maybe like right here and then maybe shoot the 7-ball into the side pocket? Right? Like that's just gonna make it more difficult. But now my 3 and my 5 are in position, or in spots now to where I can't get position on the 7, right? So I'm in a very difficult spot here. Okay, my opponent takes out the 10. He's going to come up here and deal with these 2 stripes. I think that's okay. And take the 11 or the 14 first. Probably just roll off of the 11, graze off the 14 just like that. That looks good. He's behind the 11, which is good. That means his cue ball automatically comes somewhere over here if he just rolls the cue ball. All right, so that's good. Ooh, looks like he snap judges the 9-ball. And then there, he hesitates and looks to see, like, is this what I want to do? So I'm glad that he stopped to take a look at something, because that probably made him figure out what he wanted to do here. Now, he stopped the ball. I guess he does have position on the 13. So he's just going to draw out to the rail, and he can get position on the 12 or the 15 after that. Oh, but he misses the 13 ball. All right, so we got 12, 13, so the 14's gone as well. And then look, I am back at the table. Again, look at this 7-ball. This 7-ball stinks. I actually contemplated shooting it right now, but I decided not to. I went ahead and decided to take the 5-ball. I thought I could shoot the 5-ball in and then shoot the 3 in the same corner and then get position on the 7, but it doesn't freaking matter if I miss the 5-ball. Simple mistakes, right? Simple mistakes. I ended up overcutting the 5-ball. And then look at this, look at this, look at this. How many of y'all had this happen to y'all? Right? It would have been great if this 13 ball would have got out of my way. It would have been great. Because the whole entire time I'm chasing after this 7-ball. But here I have to play a 3-5 combination. All right, I play it, no big deal. Watch this. This should look familiar to y'all. This should look very familiar to y'all. Watch this. If y'all saw the thumbnail, watch this. I'm going to try to get my cue ball to do this. And just slide up here so that way I can still try to slice that 7 ball into the pocket, or just come all the way up here. Like, it really doesn't matter. Hit the side rail and kind of drift up towards the 13, either here or here, because I still have to be able to shoot that 7 ball into the side pocket. And I'm so close to the side rail that I automatically have topspin, but then I've got left spin on the cue ball as well. How does that happen? Because as far as I'm aware, and I know we can't really tell exactly where I hit the short rail, like, that almost should not even be possible. Right? The rule of thumb is that if your cue ball, if the ball hits anywhere past the middle diamond, so if I contact anywhere over here, like, it becomes impossible for the cue ball to scratch right here. And let's see if I can capture exactly where I hit the rail. Like, I don't know. Do we think I'm on the inside of the diamond? Like, here's where I think this is where the diamond would be. Right? And I'm somewhere over here on the inside of I'm on the inside of the diamond. And yeah, just like Stan Turner says, especially at the speed that I was at, for the cue ball to just just skip right past that point and go right into the side pocket. If anything, I would have thought that maybe I would have caught the point, or I would have hit the jaw of the pocket here and it would have just bounced right back out at me, not bounced into the pocket. All right, so talk about a heartbreaker. Talk about a heartbreaker. So, what do you do here with ball in hand? So, my opponent likes taking the 13 out first. And he rolls the 12. Kind of punch stuns the 15. Makes a nice shot on the 8 ball. Now, I'm going to go back to this. We already see, like, Max M here. He likes to play 15, 13. It's actually the 12 ball, but I think I know what you mean here. And then the 12 and then the 8. And personally, I like that as well. Because we see what my opponent had to do when he shot the 15 last. He pretty much had to punch stun it to get out here to make sure that he at least had like a decent shot at the 8 ball. But the shot at the 8 ball could have been easier, I would think. So let's see here. If I had ball in hand in this position, I would more than likely place my cue ball somewhere right around here. Shoot the 15 in, and then more than likely get the cue ball to come right here. Like, very small move. So a small draw, to me, isn't gonna be that big of a deal, because this is just a stop shot right here, and then I can just roll this ball in, and my cue ball is just gonna drift right down here. I can even get flat on this ball, you know, from here, and that way I can still just roll in to be able to get flat on the 8 ball. Personally, I like that option as well, but the option that my opponent chose worked for him just as well. But I don't think when you got a ball that's on the rail, do you really want to shoot it like this, or would you rather your cue ball be somewhere closer to the rail so that way you're almost doing a straight in shot? Like I think the shot could have been so much easier, but all that really matters is that my opponent got out, especially from my scratch. I'm down 2-1. Man, look at this break. How many balls winning on the break, including the cue ball? Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Looks like the 5 and the 6 are gone. And then what about the stripes? There's the 9. I don't see the 10. There's the 11, 12, 13. Looks like he made 3 balls on the break plus the cue ball, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, 3 balls on the break plus the cue ball. So in APA, when you scratch on the break, you get ball in hand behind the head string. It is not ball in hand anywhere on the table. And you have to shoot at a ball that is past the head string. I think there would just be like that 1 in a million instance that can you break so hard to where all of the balls end up behind the head string and you scratch. Like what's supposed to happen in that scenario? Okay. So when we look at this, it looks like I'm going to take stripes. Why wouldn't I take solids? Let's have a look. Yeah, why wouldn't I take solids? Or at least I think I'm going to take stripes. Why wouldn't I take solids? I got ball in hand. I should be able to shoot the 3 ball here, the 1 ball here. Maybe I don't like the 4. Maybe that's why. I don't even remember what I did here. Let's find out. Because it looks like I'm going to take stripes. Yeah, I must not like the 4 ball. So I just took, I think that was the 11 ball out. Pretty much a small draw shot, got position on the 15 ball. This is probably shot with some top right. As I cut the 15 in and try to go around the 7, just like this. I can almost land on any ball that I want at this point. Am I able to see the 12? I am able to see the 12. It looks like I'm just a hair above center on that one. Am I getting position on the 9 or the 13 next? Oh, I just pushed to the rail, come back out. That has to be for the 9 ball. Push forward from the 9 to the 14. From the 14, I'm going to roll forward for the 13. That means the 8's got to be going somewhere down here in the bottom left corner pocket. So there's one mistake because I got behind the 13 ball and I got to make sure that I don't touch the 4. That looks good. Ah. I hope y'all can appreciate that I show stuff like this. My goodness. Now, I actually want to talk about this, not just this particular shot, but this particular type of miss. Because there's been a couple of times now when I go to like tournaments for 9-ball, like on 9-foot tables and stuff, I started to notice more and more that when I miss, I seem to have a huge tendency to do what I did here. And what did I do? Is this an overcut or an undercut? Right? 8-ball doesn't touch the rail. I'm cutting to the left and I miss to the left. So that's basically an overcut. So I'm actually finding out that I have a higher tendency to overcut a shot than I do undercutting a shot. And it was strange to me that I don't know like why it has to take this long for me to realize what I'm doing, because I've said this before that when you get down on a shot and you're sitting there trying to size everything up, figure out how you're going to hit, and the moment you're done, you say, this looks right. Pull back, strike. And then you find out, oh, look, I overcut the ball or I undercut the ball or whatever. And that's just for making the ball. Forget if you hit too hard or too soft because you missed position. Right? All I'm talking about is just making the ball. And every time I shoot, I'm always thinking that what I'm about to do is going to be correct as far as making the ball. Might not necessarily get position on the next ball, but I'm at least making the ball. So basically, I started saying, okay, you know what? Let me start setting up shots that I know that I have a tendency to overcut. So I set up this shot, and then I start aiming, and I look at it and go, there's the same picture, which means I'm going to overcut the ball, even though this picture looks right to me. So I purposely make an adjustment, and when I'm looking at my new adjustment, now it clearly looked to me, like I hope what I'm about to say makes sense. To me, from my viewpoint, it now looks like I'm going to undercut the ball, but the ball goes in. It's like, I've got my own table in my house, so this is what I'm practicing. I'm looking at this shot, and it's like, there's no way this has to be right. Like that's what I'm thinking to myself. There's no way this is right if I make this much of an adjustment. But I have to trust it anyway. Trial and error. Let's find out if I'm right or wrong. I shoot the ball goes right into the pocket. So I'm like, holy cow, like how often is it going to be like that? Because clearly I'm not going to make adjustments like that all the time. There are times when I can look at a shot and go, yeah, I know for a fact, like 98% I'm correct on this one here, and it's going to go in. But I've noticed now on a lot of shots that I started basically remembering when I miss those shots due to an overcut, I try to visually make this adjustment, and now visually to me, it now looks like I over adjust the shot, and I should be undercutting the ball, but I don't. And so the more I started to find out that was correct, and sometimes I do, like I think it's a fairly common thing that when you're like, if you practice a shot over and over again, first you overcut it a lot of times, and then you over adjust, and then you undercut it, and then hopefully you kick the field goal and you start making it. But when I started noticing more and more about how sometimes to me the shot just feels wrong, I end up having to reprogram my brain saying like, no, this might feel wrong, but we got to reprogram yourself to say to yourself, this feels right, and then go ahead and shoot. And I've been doing this more and more. And then on certain shots like this, I'll either make the ball or I'll undercut the ball. I stopped overcutting. I think maybe rarely now will I overcut a shot like this. Now I'm doing more. I'm either making the shot a little bit more, or I'm actually over adjusting and undercutting. So I just want to point that out to everybody. If y'all feel that y'all have the same effect or the same type of issue. So take, for example, if you were to shoot a particular shot and you have a tendency to undercut the ball, right? But every time you shoot, you think like, this looks right, but it's an undercut. And so you make another adjustment and you still think it visually looks right, and it's still an undercut. But then all of a sudden you make this adjustment and now it visually looks like an overcut to you. Shoot it. Find out if it really is an undercut, find out if it really is an overcut. Because if it isn't, then you need to start really seeing what that shot looks like and start reprogramming your brain to tell yourself, this is not an overcut. This adjustment's not an overcut. You're going to make the ball if you shoot this way. I've shown, I think it's 3 local players, this same thing because they have the same issue or they've had the same issue. And when I tell them like, make this adjustment, and they make the adjustment and they're like, now it looks like I'm going to do this. And I was like, cool, but shoot. And the ball goes in. So they know to look for the same exact thing. And they're pretty much making the same types of adjustments that I'm making. So I hope that makes sense, and I hope that helps out because it's been helping out me. It's still it's still a feeling type of play because I'm still trying to visualize the ghost ball. But apparently, if I'm overcutting a ball too much, that means I am visualizing the center of the ghost ball too far away from the object ball. And it's really supposed to be like 1 1/8, or whatever half of 2 1/4 is, because 2 1/4 is how big a ball is. Right? So I'm only supposed to visualize the center of the ghost ball to be like 1 1/8 or something like that. And I'm probably doing 1 1/4, which causes the overcut. So I always have to try to make sure that on certain shots, I actually aim visually, looks like I'm aiming just a little bit closer. And Hector, I am left eye dominant. So my cue is pretty much like right here when I shoot. It's on the left side of my nose, because I used to shoot like this, but I've found more and more the more I play, the more my cue has shifted over to the left side of my nose. Uh-oh. Looks like he overrolled that one. He can still probably cut that into the side, though. At least that's what he's going to try. Oh, what a shot. But again, we have another friendly little bump. Now, actually, let's see if he makes this 8-ball first, and then we're going to go back to his original pattern. Bam, he fires that ball in. My opponent's up 3-1. Okay, so where did my opponent start? Because I know I was just doing a bunch of rambling while my opponent was shooting. I shoot this, and then I miss this. What does my opponent do here? Because if I'm looking at this table, what am I thinking? Like, I'm instantly thinking 4-2. I'm probably thinking 4-2, 7-3, 1-8. That's the first one that popped into my head. Is it the most optimal, though? I mean, I would think so. Or heck, maybe I would do 4-1, 2, 3, 7, 8. Oh, so he does 4-2 as well. He could have done 4-1. He just hit it too hard. So here I would go from the 2 to the 7. Looks like that's what he does. So he overhits that one. Because that's okay, so that's what causes him to do 1, 3, 7, 8. And then he overhits this one as well. All right. Every issue that all of us have as pool players is, overhitting a ball, underhitting a ball. Cue ball control becomes one of probably the second hardest thing we all have troubles controlling. But like I said, he's able to get it to work. So to me, that's all that matters. And see, he's doing that more and more. He used to not do that. He used to just settle in and shoot. So I'm glad he refocuses himself when he feels hesitation, and then he fires, which is a good thing, I think. Ooh, so I'm down 3-1. Simple mistakes, right? All I had to do was not miss the 8-ball or not miss that stripe in the first rack, and I'm up 3. I'm most likely up 3-1. Right? Simple mistakes. Go back to here. Was that the corner ball that went in? The 9 ball? Yep, that was. How many of y'all know that if the rack is good, which means I'm bragging here because I gave at least a good rack. Probably not the best rack because I can't guarantee that that everything is frozen in here. But if anybody's familiar with Corey Doole's 8-ball soft break by striking the second row, not the rack pattern, but when he strikes the ball that's in the second row, the opposite corner ball has a tendency to go straight into the corner pocket. This is one of the big the other benefits that you can have from doing the second ball break. Not so much to where you can also make the 8-ball on the break, but if this corner ball goes in like it did here, that's an indication of at least a good rack, which is exactly what happened here. Now the 9-ball just flies right into the corner pocket. So looks like my opponent is forced to play stripes, which when you look at this, kind of sucks. Looks like he has no choice but to start with the 14. Where does the 14 go? Was he trying the combo? All right. So, the heck am I supposed to do with that, y'all? That 5-ball becomes my top priority. Now, how many of y'all would leave that 5-ball to the end? And be honest here. How many of y'all would legitimately leave that 5-ball to the end? I gotta imagine there might be a couple of people in here that would do that. How many would do that? Because basically what I'm trying to advise is that you should not do that. You should try to get there as soon as possible. As soon as possible. I need to dislodge that 5-ball from that rail and get it away from those stripes as soon as possible. Does not mean it has to be done right now because the table doesn't even allow me to do it right now. But I would like to get there in as few shots as possible, if I can. If I can. So it looks like I started with the 4-ball. Probably hit that just a little too hard. If I shot the 4, that means I wanted to shoot the 6-ball next. But since I'm here, I'm not going to risk shooting the 6. So that's one shot. Looks like I might be rolling the 1-ball to get positioned on the 2. All right, so there goes the 1-ball. So what do y'all think I'm going to do here with the 2-ball? All right, I tried. I just didn't get it. I just didn't get it. It's kind of out in the open, like but it's not the best. So trying to remember from here if I kept on going or if I stopped. Sometimes I end up finding myself in positions to where like I actually say to myself, I'm not going to run the table, and I stop. But do I keep on going from here? Nope, I keep on going. There goes the 3. So that means I'm gonna try again with the 5-ball. Like I have to hit the 5. Or I'm sorry, I'm gonna shoot the 7-ball and try to hit the 5. Oh, and this is good. I remember this rack. This is gonna be a good rack. A good rack that I really want to study. There we go again, but I missed. This is actually not a bad idea if I would have gotten flat on that 5-ball to try to make the 10-ball and push the cube and push the 5-ball through the 10-ball to go into the side pocket. I've done shots like that before. That is definitely not a bad idea. And now from here, the only thing I thought about doing is I wanted to try to be able to bank the 5 over here, and I think I tried to draw the cue ball back for position on the 6. It's going to be a power draw bank shot. See what I mean? So I'm kind of glad that the 8 ball is down here now, because that hopefully at least slows the game down. Because if the 8 ball wasn't down here, I'm in trouble. But spoiler alert, I'm going to be in trouble in this rack. All right, so my opponent combos in his 10 ball. What's he going to do when he gets down here? He has an opportunity to do something now. Oh, but he doesn't take it. Is he gonna try to combo this ball in? Maybe that's what he's gonna try to do. No, he plays safe. Look at that. He plays a safety. So this is good. This is good. Now I think he messed up his combo though. It looks like the 13 ball is further behind, is closer to the rail than the 12 ball. So I don't think the combo is on. What did I do here? I know I'm not trying to make this 5 ball. At least I better not be trying to make the 5 ball. No, I did try to make the 5 ball. No, I didn't. Why would I? I wouldn't. No. I think, okay, so I think missing the 5 was maybe on purpose, but I don't think I got the 5. I don't think I got the 5 ball to do exactly what I wanted to do. And I didn't. Because there's no way I'm shooting that 5 ball and thinking like, hey, I just got positioned for the 6. What was I trying to do? Because I would have thought, if anything, I would have thought I want my 5 ball somewhere down here. Like, I don't know if I was intending on trying to just hit the short rail and try to have it bank its way back down here, or if I wanted to get the 5 ball to hit this rail and then hit this rail and then work its way down here. Like, I want my 5 ball somewhere down here near my 6 ball. I'm pretty sure that's at least what I wanted to do, because there's no way in the world I'm playing the 5 ball like this and then thinking that this gives me position on the 6. There's no way in the world I'm playing like that. Because now this makes it worse, because now I can't break out my 6 ball. So I'm pretty sure my plan was that I wanted to get the 5 ball down here so that way hopefully I can use it to break my stuff open. Because now in this position, how could I possibly win? Does anybody see anything? Like, what could I possibly do here that might actually allow me to win from here? This is tough. What in the world could I possibly do that can hopefully allow me to win from here? No, we're not even at this point. Like, what kind of safeties? You know, like how many innings? Is there a way for solids to win? If you're solids, if you're in my shoes, what do you do from this point on to try to etch out a victory? Hector's saying tie up the 8 ball. I like Robert Allison's answer. Pray. You're not wrong. All right, we got a couple of answers of tying up the 8 ball next to my 6 ball. I think that's all well and good, but there's 3 stripes next to the 2 ball cluster, right? They have ways of actually of breaking them out. So I went ahead and took my 5 ball out because it serves me no purpose being there. And that was the only ball that I can shoot at. But now what? What do we do here? So everybody thinks that maybe instead of shooting my 5 ball, I should have went ahead and tied up the 8 ball. I mean, that's certainly an option. That might have been the decision that changes everything. What did I do here? Is this what I think it is? Because I did do a Hail Mary shot at one point. No, not here. So there's a safety. There is a point where I go for a Hail Mary shot. All right, look, like it's getting worse and worse. What am I supposed to do? I think this is where I go for my Hail Mary shot. Anybody have any guess what the Hail Mary shot might be? When y'all saw me do that right there, what do you think the Hail Mary shot might be? It's not really just banking the 6 because I can't bank the 6 up here if that's what you're thinking about. That was pretty much it right there, except that was supposed to be a 4-railer. 4-rail, bank the 6 ball, clip that 8 ball, and then hopefully have something. Look at that. My opponent overcuts his ball. Oh, you know what? That's actually a really good idea. That's actually a really good idea. That might have been a better idea than what I came up with. Eric Sainer, that I probably should have tried that. That would have definitely allowed me to run into the 8 ball. But I didn't even think about that. I'm already frustrated at this point. I missed a straight in stripe that cost me the first rack. I missed that 8 ball that cost me another rack. Like I'm already in frustration mode. So this was the only thing I could come up with at the time. Look at that. If the 6 ball would have caught right here, it might have caromed off of the my opponent's ball and went in. But then now I have no choice but to try to bank the 8 into this corner pocket had I made it. But my opponent ends up thinly slicing his 11 ball and not able to make it. So what did everybody say at the very beginning of when I said, what am I supposed to do here? Well, I do it now. I go ahead and tie up the 8 ball. It just stinks that I end up tying up the 8 ball with my own ball. Like why would anybody want to do that? All right, at least I don't commit a foul. It looks like he tries to break it out once. Wasn't able to. He's definitely got to try to break it out again. And he's able to that time. He's got a shot at the 13. I actually like something I just saw here, but I want to let this finish first and then look at something. All right, so this is kind of why I didn't want to tie up the 8 in the first place, like at the very beginning, because this is what I'm thinking basically would happen in the first place. All right, so now my opponent's on the hill. But now I want to go back to this. No, I'm not in the position where I could have done it. I was thinking like, is there a way for me to do this and have my 6-ball occupy this pocket, forcing my opponent to have to play the 8-ball and over there, which there isn't. So 6 into the 13 and then kick the 11-ball in. That's like, okay, if I understand that correctly, you're talking about trying to do a 3-ball combination, knock the 12 in, and then have my cue ball knock this ball in. Like, that's already a thin cut to be able to just make the 3-ball combination, let alone for me to control my cue ball to be able to knock the 11-ball in, and the 11-ball is past the point. So if I do strike that 11-ball, I'm more than likely going to scratch at the same time. But at this point here, you know what? At this point here, I this is probably what I should have tried to do. I should have tried to just nestle, gently knock my opponent's ball in and have my 6-ball tie up next to his 13. This right here is probably what I should have done differently. At the very least, at the very least, he'd have a shot at this ball. But if my 6-ball is at least covering his 13 ball, I might be okay. I might actually force a stalemate. If I do that, I wouldn't be able to see it any other way. If my 6-ball is actually covering the 13 ball and I knocked my opponent's 12 ball in, this if I could have kept my composure, which I didn't by this point, this probably would have been a much better play for me to try. Of course, I could screw it up. Like if I catch the high side of the 13 ball, I still knock the 12 in. My 6-ball does this, and the 13 ball bounces out, and my opponent's clearly out from there. But if I actually get a good flat hit on that 13 ball, and then my 6-ball will be hovered on top of it as it knocks the 12 ball in, that might have been an opportunity for maybe prolong the game, maybe be able to steal the rack. No, like I'm not disagreeing with trying to billiard into the 11 ball. My only concern is that one, the ball is on one side of the pocket. If the ball was in the middle of the pocket, I might be more comfortable doing it. But to me, this almost makes me think, and like I said before, the ball is past the point. So like I have to really hit the ball first. I can't hit a rail and then hit the ball. I have to hit the ball first. And chances are, if I hit that ball first, I'm probably going to scratch on top of it. But I'm certainly not eliminating that as a possible option. I just have to hit it perfect in order to do it. No different than I have to hit this 3-ball combination perfect if I want my 6-ball to be able to guard the 13 ball. But to me, like that was like a rack that I was inevitable to lose on. But my opponent's on the hill. Take a timeout. Okay, another scratch on the break. I think I saw a ball or two drop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it was a stripe that dropped. 9, 10. Looks like it was the 11 ball. Let's see here. So look what I'm doing, right? Looking around, trying to figure out what's what. If I'm doing that, that means I might like stripes. I don't know why I like stripes because of this area. Actually, solids and stripe both suck because of this area right here. I think this combination is on. But it looks like I settle in on stripes. And we look at this area right here, right? I might be able to deal with it right now. And that would be a good thing if I do. Or maybe there's enough room. I just, never mind. I didn't deal with it. Let's see. Lots of draw. Okay, so there was definitely plenty of room. have to go to the 13 next, and I have to go from the 13 to the 15. I don't think I want to play a combination from the 14 to the 15. This looks like bottom right. Just like that. You can see the hesitation there. This must mean I have an angle on this shot here, so my cue ball is going to do this, when I would like to probably just play a stop shot. There we go, a little friendly bump. But if I had to guess from here, I would shoot the 14 down here, I think. Let the cue ball roll over to the rail so I can shoot the 15 next. Get the cue ball somewhere right around here. There we go. Now the all-important question is, where do I play the 8? So I at least come over here and look. I looked at this. Question is this ball or this ball in the way? It's like I got some topspin on the ball. What am I trying to do? Well, that had to be lucky, because now I'm making the ball over here. I'm pretty sure I did not want to bump into that 8 ball, but now I'm lucky that I did. Oh, okay, cool. So I was at least able to make that. So look what we've seen here, right? My opponent has been able to capitalize on my mistakes, right? That's why he's at 4. And the only mistakes I've been able to capitalize on is when he scratched on the break, because I've been able to run out from there. Here's an act of desperation, right? My opponent's on the hill. And normally I don't try to go for a second ball break unless I'm on the hill, but I'm behind. All right, so now I try to go for an 8 ball break. I'm going to strike the 2 ball. Look at that 8 ball. Right, and that's all that I can hope for, is just to get the 8 ball moving. Did I make a ball on the break? 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't see the 5 ball. 6, 7, 8, and then 9. 10, 11, 12, 13. Looks like I made the 14 ball as well. So at least here, it's good that I at least have an open table. Oh, wow. I have over 153 people in here. Thank y'all so much for being here. Like, y'all really don't know what it means to me that y'all take time out of your day to come watch me review my own stuff, let alone when I'm playing this badly. Y'all have no idea how much that means to me. I really do appreciate it. And like Robert Allen said, it would be a huge plus to me also if you would give the stream a thumbs up, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube. I really would appreciate it. Again, thanks everybody for being here. I got another match queued up after this one. Okay, so open table. Let's see here. Looks like I like solid. So let's have a look, because it looks like I might be shooting this 7 ball here as I'm gearing up with a lot of bottom spin. So let me see if I can try to remember what else did I do here. Because like, why would I choose solids? Probably because it's really the only ball that I can shoot at. All right. Well, look at this 13 ball. What am I going to do with the 13 ball? I could shoot the 9. But if I shoot the 9, there's not really a ball that I can get position. Maybe I could have gotten position on the 11 ball. Maybe. But if I'm shooting this 7, that means I'm going from the 7 to the 1. I have to be. Like, let's find out. I really don't remember all of the details that I did on this particular rack. Oh, never mind. I power drew the ball. I at least have position on the 1. Like I said, I just thought I'd be shooting the 1 in the side pocket. That means I probably have to gear up for a bank shot on the 4-ball. If I keep this up, I must be wanting to bank the 4-ball. But what am I going to do from here? Roll the 1 in. That's what that was. So like just a little bit of a rolling cue ball. This combination must go then if I set up for it. A little bit of draw here. Oh, that's right. Now I remember what's going to happen here. What would y'all attempt to do here? Like I'm trying to get out. I'm trying to run the table. What do y'all do here? Oh, oh, well, not. I didn't mean to call it that here, but I really like that idea, Septicon Warrior. I didn't even think of that. That is actually a really good idea. Watch this though. I was trying to. I want to look more at Septicon's idea though. I was trying to do this because y'all saw like I cut that ball all the way down here, it hit the cue ball, hit the rail. I wanted to come over here and hit this 4-ball on this side, so the 4-ball banks out, and so does my cue ball. And then I could do some maneuvering, or heck, just to even get it to bounce out, and maybe I can cut it. Maybe I can cut it into the side pocket. Then, no matter what, I get to move my cue ball as long as I'm able to get to the 8. But instead, I must not have had enough side spin on this one here. Right? If I catch the 4-ball on the other side, I think I'm out from there. But I actually really like Septicon Warrior's idea. I like this one so much, but mainly because cross banking the 4-ball is one of my cross banking to the side pockets is actually one of my favorite shots. So really, he's saying I should have made the 2-ball because the 2 does go into the side pocket, right? So that way I can get position on the 6 somewhere over here, play a stop shot on the 6, and then cross bank that 4-ball, which means I can get my cue ball to do something like this to get position on the 8. That is actually a really good idea. The only other alternative that could come up from here is I should have played the 2 into the side pocket. My only issue with playing the 2 into the side pocket is, yes, I have a shot to be able to bank the 4-ball. Zhang Yu, I hope I pronounced that correctly. Thank you so much for subscribing to my YouTube channel. I really do appreciate it. My only issue that I have with back banking the 4-ball is, of course, I'm going to run into the 13-ball. And what in the world is that going to leave me for the 8? Right? Maybe I have to back bank the 8 into this side pocket. That's certainly an option, right? But you know, if I would have bumped into the 4-ball the way I wanted to, I'd have some sort of shot to where I have to move my cue ball. And then taking Septicon Warrior's option of cross banking the 4-ball really allows me to move my cue ball and then maybe be able to also do something. Because those are the only 2 other options that I can see here. Septicon Warriors or taking a back bank on the 4-ball and hopefully hitting this 13-ball just right where maybe I'll get position on the 8 ball, or maybe I have to bank the 8 ball. But I certainly didn't see this happening. At least I know for sure this is what I didn't want to happen. I thought maybe, you know, heck, maybe I just run flat into the 4 and I still don't even have a shot. Right? That right there. Like maybe I run flat into the 4 ball and then the 4 ball just hits the rail and then comes back and hits the cue ball and they're stuck like this. But oh well. It's been one of those nights. So what do y'all do from here? Do y'all agree with this decision? Like, it's obviously a good decision because he broke up his 13 ball, but look at the position he ends up being in. Now, I'm not suggesting that, you know, he can guarantee that he's gonna give himself a shot, but do we see a better option? Do we think there's a better option that could have been done here? As you can see, so we got Stan Turner thinks the 15 or the 12. So my opponent chose the 12, and I don't want to use the outcome as a reason why we should do something different. I just want to know, like, is there a better option? Period. Because I like the 15 better, just personally. I just personally like the 15 better. Stick the cue ball right here and pretty much do the same thing. The only difference is even if the cue ball still nestles up right here, guess what? Right? Doing this way, and I'm pretty sure maybe he didn't think he was going to get blocked from the 9. Maybe that's why we end up he ends up shooting the 12 instead. But I think moving this 15 ball out of the way, you're guaranteed these 2 shots, and heck, you might even be guaranteed on the 9 ball as well. So I think I personally would have done it with the 15 ball instead of the 12. But still, I just like the fact that he's going for it. He is trying to solve an issue right away, and he solves it. But unfortunately, he also helps me out at the same time and doesn't really leave himself a good shot. Let's see, does he get out from here, though? How did he make that ball? Oh, did he play it off of his 11? Oh, he had to have. He caromed his ball off of his 11 ball. What a shot. There goes the 11. Looks like I'm in trouble here. There goes the 9. Uh-oh. That was unintentional. Wonder why he chose to hit it so hard. And then he overcuts that ball. Right? Blocks the pocket that I would love to shoot it in. And you remember what I said to y'all about how, like, I have a tendency to overcut shots? Right? Because look at this 4 ball. Like, I have to cut it in the side, right? What else am I going to do? The 14 ball is blocking me. Or no, I'm sorry, the 10 ball. You want to know how thin I can cut a shot? There's a couple of things we can talk about here, right? There's a couple of things we can talk about here. First and foremost, how thin do I have to hit this ball to do that? One of the other opponents even told me, because they're at the angle of watching the 4 come into the side pocket. He told me that I overcut this 4 ball. If the 4 ball had enough momentum, it would have gone right into the rail. That's how much I overcut the ball from what I was told by my opponent. Then there's this, like, look at this. One, like, doesn't it look like the cue ball should have stayed up? Do you see the hesitation that the cue ball does? Bobbles into the corner twice, kind of rocks back and then falls into the pocket. Rocks back and then falls. Like, I almost thought that the cue ball was going to bobble its way up. So there's a couple of things that perplexed me for this particular shot. Let's just say I overcut the shot, but that also means not only did I overcut it, I back cut the 4 ball, which you would think is kind of impossible to do, right? Because if you're from this angle here, that means I got to be close to cutting that ball somewhere around 90 degrees, if that's the case. Because no matter what, I'm basically thinking that since I'm cutting a ball to the left, my cue ball has to go to the right, which means the cue ball should have pretty much like come somewhere down this line. I would think the cue ball would come off of the rail and come somewhere down this line, even though I know I'm not drawing the line straight. So it was interesting to me to know that I hit that so thin that I pushed past what should be the tangent line and kept coming to the left. I cut a ball to the left and my cue ball goes to the left as well. And that kind of perplexes me on how that can actually happen. Because I know for a fact that I don't really have any side spin, not when I'm cutting a ball that freaking thin. Did y'all see that? Look at this. Clearly, y'all can see that he is worried that he almost scratched in the side pocket. But my opponent avoids scratching, gets flat on the 8 ball, and then takes me down. I lose this match 5-2. And really, why do you think I called this simple mistakes? Because, like, besides this, like, I certainly don't consider this a simple mistake. This was a really difficult shot for me to try to really thinly slice that 4 ball into the side pocket and still hold position for the 8 ball. But for me to cut the 4 ball the way that I did and scratch, that's a little bit interesting. But when we go back and look at the other racks that I lost, the very first rack that I lost because I missed a rather straight-in shot into the side pocket, that puts me at 3. Right? And then what was the other one? Then I missed the 8 ball. That puts me at 4. Right? Those 2 racks completely alter the state of the game to where I actually should be on the hill. And who knows what would happen after that, right? Because think about it. Think about how this psychologically works. I'm down 4-2, so I'm thinking like, oh my gosh, what am I supposed to do? My opponent more than likely is on cloud 9. He's on the hill. He feels like he's on the verge to win. And look at this. So like, if we flip all of that to where I'm on the hill, maybe now my opponent is getting stressed out, and I'm actually the more comfortable one. Like, who knows? So all I know is, at least on this particular match here, I definitely need to make sure I correct my mistakes. And what I talked about when I overcut shots, that's the part that I hope that makes sense, because that has been actually benefiting me a little bit more and more, to where even though I can get down on a shot like I normally do and look at it and realize, I think I might be overcutting the shot. And so I make a visual adjustment to where now it doesn't look like I'm undercutting the shot. When I was initially making these adjustments, visually my brain was thinking like, I'm going to miss now because I've over adjusted. And now I'm not thinking that anymore. I've now reprogrammed my brain to think like, no, this is actually a more accurate shot and you're not going to overcut the shot. So if you feel that you're struggling with the same thing to where whether you're undercutting a ball or whether you're overcutting a ball, then you really need to just go ahead and visually change whatever it is that you're looking at, because clearly if you're shooting the same picture that you shot before, then you're more than likely going to miss the shot. Sorry, I had to sneeze there. Every time you're taking whatever shot it is that you're taking and you're undercutting the shot or you're overcutting the shot, clearly you're thinking whatever it is you're last seeing is going to be correct. So if you were to set up the same shot and see the same picture, then you should hopefully know that you're going to produce the same exact result. So therefore, when you paint yourself a new picture, then your brain is probably going to say to yourself, this can't be right. And all I'm suggesting is shoot it and find out, because you might end up surprising yourself and it might be right. And then you're going to have to reprogram your brain to see this new picture that basically you initially would think is wrong and come to find out that it's right. So I hope that makes sense. And when my opponent sees this match, you shot one hell of a game there, bud. And hopefully some of the stuff that you hear that helps me is also going to help you, as well as the different pattern selections. Because we saw a couple of times where you shot a shot just a little too hard, or maybe you could have chose just a slightly different pattern that either I saw or even some of the viewers saw that might have made your run out percentages a little bit higher. So good game. Good game. Now, let's go back to this while I set up for the next match. And at this point, give me a second. I will be right back. Look who I have, everybody. This is Link, if you're new to my stream. And he's gotten he has finally gotten a lot bigger. Say hi to everybody. Right? Because you're gonna have a terrible day tomorrow. Oh my gosh, you're still a puppy. Would you cut it out? Seriously? There's no food in my beard. There's no reason for you to do that. But Link wanted to say hi to everybody before he has a terrible day tomorrow, because he's going to get fixed. I can't find Zelda. I'm pretty sure Zelda's probably hiding under my bed. Does anybody have any questions? I like this. You saying I need to put the pyro colored chalk, or even the V10 chalk on my logo? I can actually do that. But I don't have any issues with doing that. But before we get to looking at the next match, I'm happy to take any questions. And if there aren't any questions, then we're just going to roll right into the next match. And before we roll into the next match, I'll be getting rid of this guy, because as you can see, he is just going to be a distraction. because I think I have everything set up. Craig, you are correct. I initially had that logo created when I picked up the tuxedo cue because I was using that a lot on my YouTube channel. But now I'm toggling between the tuxedo and then the Icon 4-5 that I have in my garage. But the cues that I use when I play at League is the Predator Black 4-5. So, but I had an online buddy of mine actually make that logo. So the only thing I can probably do now is try to change the cue. I don't necessarily want to change the logo, but I can certainly try to change the cue. But changing the color of the tip of the cue, that's easy. I can simply do that in my why am I drawing a blank? My editing software. Justin Dover, you're asking if I'm coming to Vegas in April for the APA doubles. More than likely, no. One, I can't go for 9-ball because I'm not on a 9-ball team. And then two, I wouldn't go for 9-ball anyway because as a skill level 9, the skill cap that we're allowed to play as is 10, which means I have to pair up with a 1. Right? So that's almost not even worth it at that point. I have tried straight to Vegas in 8-ball as a 7 because I have to pair up with a 3. I have tried it once, and I unfortunately the qualifying event that we played in, I think we got to the semifinals and then lost. So we weren't able to close it out. So I may try it again. It just depends. It just depends. But I'm being told that Zelda's available. Let me go see if I can find Zelda. Right back. Man, look who I found. If Robert Ellison, if you're still in the chat, here's what you've been waiting for. Look at this chonker. Right? We got Link and Zelda here. Zelda is a boy though. There's a little mishap with the vet told us who he was. Initially thought it was a girl until we went to go have him fixed. And then they found out, oh wait, we messed up. This is a boy. But you see him occasionally show up on some of my straight pool live streams because I'll have the garage door open so that way he can come in there and watch me shoot. And so all he does is just get into a chair and just fall asleep most of the time. You don't like this, do you? All right. Well, I don't really see any questions. So kick out the cat. Ah. And yeah, unless I see any questions, I'm going to go ahead and roll into the next match here. Let's see here. Let me take a look real quick. Yes, Rad09, the Icon 4-5, that is what Francisco Sanchez Ruiz uses. I happened to notice that one of when he won his first major. Okay, so yeah, I guess without further ado, I'm just going to go ahead and roll into the next match here. So let's switch on over or switch back to this. And in this matchup here, I'm playing up against another skill level 7. Just a different person. And as you can see, sometimes I'm not so lucky with the camera angles. Sometimes I'm able to get like a straight up and down type of thing. And sometimes I might be able to get maybe just a complete sideways view. But then a lot of times I have to get these slanted diagonal angle views. Now, what I can say though is that this match takes place after, I think, a couple of weeks. A couple of weeks have gone by since that loss that I did. And what I was saying before about how I made my adjustments to where instead of overcutting a ball, I would try to visually make an adjustment to where it looks like I'm going to undercut the ball. And I'm allowed to be, and it allows me to be a little bit more accurate. Now, that's not to say that I still don't overcut balls, because I do. I'm just doing it less and less now. Sometimes it still creeps up, and I still end up thinking like, well, did I make enough in an adjustment, and am I going to make it, or am I going to undercut it? But sometimes it still ends up being an overcut. And I do think you end up seeing something like that in this matchup here. So let's go. I'm the 14 and my opponent's the 13. And I end up winning the lag. I'm going to break first again, because I think I broke first on the last match as well. So here we go again. Here goes the pop breaks. So not bad, except I don't want my cue ball drifting off to the right. I want it to try to pop straight back. So that tells me that I'm not hitting the head ball as square as I can from the approach angle that I'm hitting from. So now, what did I make on the break? 1, 2, I don't see the 3 ball. 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so 9, 10, 11, 12. 13, 14, 15. So I'm solids on this one here. So all we do is rinse and repeat every time. It's not like anything changes. Is there an issue on the table? It doesn't appear to be. Question is going to be is, where am I going to play the 8? It looks like more than likely I would either play the 8 ball here, maybe here, or maybe here. It all depends on what my end patterns end up being. Because of this 5 ball being here, that might eliminate this as an option. Because if I play the 2 in the corner, I don't remember if the 5 will go into the side, or if I have to play the 5 all the way down here. If the 5 goes into the side pocket, that might cause me to play the 8 here into the opposite side. If the 5 doesn't go in the side and I have to play the 5 down here, that might cause the 8 ball to go up here in the corner. So there's that, which makes me think that the 2 or the 5 might be the key ball. So that leaves the 7, 1, the 6, and the 4 that I have to deal with. So what do I do from here? Dustin Dover is thinking to play the 7, the 6, the 4, and then from the 4 to the 5. I don't think the 5 passes by the 2. So I'm not sure I'm not sure if that pattern's going to work. I'm pretty sure the 5 does not pass the 2. Yeah, because if anything, I would have to shoot the 6 first, then the 4. Probably come back for the 7, play the 7 into the 1, and then go from the 1 to the 2 to the 5. That's what I'm thinking. Let's see here. Dan Turner, you like the 2 first, then the 5. Like I said, the 5 goes into the side, or maybe even to the corner. So 2, 5, 7, 1, 6. You can't end with the 2 again. So 1, 6, 4. That's actually not bad. That's actually really not bad. I think I actually like that better. Let's see here. Let's see what I come up with. See, the more I look at this, Stan, the more I like your pattern better, because I'm stuck with this, like, what ball is closest to the 8 ball, and that's usually the ball that I want to be the key ball. And sometimes you'd want to use a ball that's further away that kind of leads into the 8 ball. And if I'd have taken just an extra second, I probably would have chosen your pattern instead, because I don't think I did. Well, it looks like I did decide to shoot the 7. Looks like I have a little bit of draw. Ooh, why did I do that? Sam H, thank you so much for subscribing to my YouTube channel. I guess the angle that I had on that 7 was really sharp. What is that? Ali Famil, thank you so much for subscribing to my YouTube channel. This puts me straight on the 6. So clearly the 6 is going to go into the upper left corner pocket. So you can already see how badly this pattern is starting to break down, because now look at my 1 ball. So I would tend to think that I'm going from I would have to go from the 4 to the 1. Right? But I run into the 13 ball. So that doesn't help. This is actually probably not a bad option. Let me look back at it. Well, I guess it depends. I guess it depends, because we can see that I have to back cut the 6 ball. So if I'm gonna roll off of it, that means my cue ball is gonna be up like somewhere right around here. So from here, it's not gonna be ideal that I can hold from the 1 to the 4. I probably would have to play the 2 at that point from there. But I can say this though, if we do go back and look at this, I can say that it's probably better that if I would have rolled the 6 in like you're suggesting, Daniel, but I would roll over or roll up for the 2. Play the 2, then play the 5, try to come back over here for the 1, and end up using the 4 to the 8 like Stan had originally suggested. This would have probably been a better alternate route, rather than the route that I'm choosing here. So as we get back to this point here, now I'm kind of forced to play the 2 ball. What is that? That looks like a little bit of draw. Yeah, so clearly I'm trying to go from the 2 to the 1, and look what happens. All right, so this basically is a good demonstration of when you do have to move your cue ball, like how much margin of error actually exists in the layouts to be able to go from one ball to the other, which puts a strain on your cue ball control. So clearly, if I have better cue ball control, I can still shoot these same patterns and still get out, or I can hopefully try to choose better patterns to where I don't have to do all this kind of moving, right? Because I bank the 5, but then look, I still don't get position on the 1. So we're seeing here that the 1 ball is really eluding me, which we saw in another pattern. I probably could have had the 1 ball gone a long time ago. So I think here, this is where I try to just do a rail first kick shot. And I end up scratching. Oh, don't even get me started. Don't even get me started on that, Craig. Because yes, I mean, look. Oh yeah, if jump cues were allowed in APA, I'm clearly jumping that ball. All right. Now, my opponent has ball in hand, so this is kind of like what you saw before. Right? If I ran the table, but and my opponent has ball in hand, what kind of patterns can we come up with? Right? Because I'm already liking that my opponent starts with the 10 ball. It's really the only ball that's in trouble. Right? Draws out. Has position on the 15. I probably would have maybe emphasized getting position on the 13 next. Plays the 15. Rolls up. Looks like he has position on the 14 or the 11. RV Tuss, thank you so much for subscribing to my YouTube channel. I really do appreciate it. Ooh, nice stun run through there on the 14 ball. Gives him position on the 12. You can also shoot the 13 ball. Look how that cue ball hesitated. I always love watching that, whether it's on a follow shot or on a draw shot, when the cue ball kind of just peels out in place before it takes off. Like that's so pretty to watch. So this is looking good. A little bit of a stop shot here on the 9 ball, or draw stun shot. Gives him position on the 11. Now I think he's on the wrong side of the 11. He might have to come to the rail and with left spin, spin out in between the 8 and the 13. Kind of like this. Yeah, so nice and flat on the 13 ball. Just roll this ball in. 8 ball in the opposite corner pocket. So I think here you can see we're actually marking our pockets this time, because he didn't ask me. And this is usually something I do as well. Most of the time, oh, he did. Ooh, that was so close. Typically, that's something I also do as well, to where like when I'm in a pattern like this, if I'm doing a run, when I get down to the 8 ball, I just automatically go and grab my marker and get ready to start marking it, and then my opponent will tell me it's okay if you just call it, and that's pretty much what he did here. So since he was on a run, I didn't want to disturb him and say it's okay to call it. He just went ahead and marked it. So we're pretty much marking the pockets throughout the rest of the match. Whoops. Too much follow on that one. Okay, so my opponent scratches on the break, kind of like what my last opponent did, right? Whenever he scratched on the break, and I was able to run out from there. Do I do the same thing on this one? What set is everybody choosing? I can't shoot at these two, and I don't remember if I can shoot at this ball. What's everybody picking? Because it looks like I'm going to pick stripes. Rolling cue ball shot, bump off the 14 ball just to get it away from the 1. Or no, the 14's right here, so this must be the 10 ball here. What am I doing there? Oh, a little bit of a punch draw there. Oh, that's right. I remember this spot. I've actually, what you're about to see here, I've done this before. I'm trying to play the 13 into the corner and go 2 rails around to get position on the 11. Watch what happens. What do you do at that point? Right? What do you do at that point? Because the 11 does not pass the 2, which is why I tried playing the way that I did. So the answer can't be, oh, if you'd have just hit it a little bit harder, right? If I would have hit it a little bit harder, clearly that means the 13 ball would go, but I would not have shape on the 11. So now that makes me want to eventually go back and really study what could I have done differently to really get out on this rack here. Let's see. This is the other hard part about staying up with all these extra animations. You know, cue ball diagram, marking what balls are still on the table. I always forget. I always forget to do something. So it looks like my opponent took out his 4-ball, I think. Looks like he might have the 3 in the side. Bridged over the 8-balls makes it a little difficult. Draws back. Looks like he might have position on the 1. What is he going to do with the 6-ball? So actually, I want to go back and see where his starting position was. So he power draws off of the 4-ball. So this is something I like to do when I'm watching my opponents play, because I'm always curious about, like, and regardless whether or not if I agree or disagree with whatever it is they're doing, I'm always just going to be curious about what they're thinking about. Because if my opponent's going to draw off the 4 and spin back over here, like, I'm pretty sure, like, he's not saying, like, I'm going to draw 2 rails and bump into the 2 and get position on the 3. I tend to think, like, he's actually trying to get position on maybe one of these 2 balls and just overhits it, right? But regardless, if my opponent gets position on either of these 2 balls, he has a completely different pattern that he's going to play, and that's fine. I'm just curious about what do we do here with the 6. Now, I'm not sure if the 6 passes by my stripe here, but if it does, I would definitely tend to think that he should have went from the 4 to the 6 at the very least, because this is a priority ball. If we don't get this ball, if we don't get this ball gone as soon as possible or moved, I'm coming back to the table. Like, that's immediately what I'm thinking whenever I watch my opponents play, and I start watching their patterns and think, okay, they must be doing this, they must be doing this, and at some point I might end up saying, what are you going to do here? Because you're about to let me come back to the table if you don't figure this out. And I would tend to think that this is a very common problem a lot of players might end up having, is figuring out what to do with their most troublesome ball. Right? Because what? He's going to play the 1 and then what? All right, so now he's got position on the 2. Okay, gets position on the 5. Looks like he might have to bump into the 7 if he shoots the 5. But do y'all see what I mean? Like, it's obviously a good thing to be able to make balls, especially to be able to make balls and put a run together. But it becomes, I don't want to say useless. What's the word I'm looking for? Like, it doesn't really even serve a purpose if we don't finish the table. Right? Because even if he would have made the ball, even if he would have made the 7, right? He saved the 6 ball all the way to the end, which is the only thing that I would basically, yeah, there we go. I actually like these words, irrelevant or even insignificant. If we don't, yeah, and even futile. I agree with all of these. No matter what, even if we wouldn't have been able to free up this ball, I would think if we went all the way back to here, let's just say this 6 ball doesn't go. Let's just say the 6 ball doesn't go. It doesn't pass the ball. I would certainly still try to push through and maybe see if I can block the pocket, or if I can't even do that, I'm blocking the pocket now. Because I have to think to myself, I'm not getting out. So the last thing I want to do if I'm not going to be able to run the table is to put the table in this state right here and my opponent comes to the table. Because I've literally allowed my opponent to win. And this is something that every pool player, and I don't care what skill level, it just gets harder to be able to win from here if you're doing this to yourself. If this is on the lower end of the skill ladder, then okay, could we expect maybe an APA 2 or an APA 3? I mean, heck, like maybe even like, I don't know if we want to go up to the 4s or the 5s, but if we're on the lower end of the skill ladder, doing this might be okay. Because the chances of an APA 2 or an APA 3, and that's not to diss an APA 2 or an APA 3, it's just really looking at the statistics, the likelihood that a lower skill level player might be able to run this table. Is it possible? Of course it's possible. It's just probably a very small percent that it might actually happen. But when you're at the 6s and 7s and sometimes even the 5s, this is not the best thing in the world that you'd want to do to yourself. So you definitely have to be sure that you're going to run the table, because otherwise you've lost. Because he should have stopped running the balls off the table and basically clearing off all of the balls for me to be able to run. Because it looks like I start with the 13 ball. And here it looks like I'm just going to roll to the side rail after I shoot the 14 ball. I can't tell what this ball is. Maybe that's the 5. Yeah, I think it's the 15. And the 9 ball is still on the table. Is this top right? Yeah, that's top right to go behind the 7. That gives me position on the 11. And again, I go over to near the 11 to see what my next shot on the 9 would be. As it looks like I'm just going to try to drag this shot here. This is going to be a drag shot. I'm not drawing the cue ball. See that right there? Some people would look at this and go like, man, he's really about to draw the cue ball, and that's not what's happening here. I'm hitting so low on the cue ball so I can hit the cue ball firm, and that way when the backspin dies, the cue ball slides and then maybe might start rolling forward a little bit, but the cue ball doesn't even roll anywhere. That's what allows me to hold the cue ball as well as I did. Now here I might be drawing the cue ball back a little bit off of the 9 ball. That's a little bit of a draw, maybe to the point to where I'm stunning the ball, so that way I can play the 8 ball into the corner pocket. This is more likely just going to be with a rolling cue ball, just slightly above center. And there we go. So, I mean, think about that, right? My opponent put together a good run. He put together a good 5-ball run, and it almost would have been a good 6-ball run. But not dealing with that ball, that 6 ball that was way down here, just makes it, like I said, all the words that we heard, irrelevant, insignificant, futile, or whatever, because it doesn't allow you to win. All it allows you to do is give the table to your opponent, and your opponent has a much easier table to deal with at that point. So I can only stress, even if you're at the lower end of the skill ladder, doing something like that might be okay on some occasions, and actually maybe on quite a lot of occasions. But as you climb up the ladder, you can't play like that anymore. You have to know whether or not if you're going to run the table or if you're not going to run the table. And if you can say to yourself you're not going to run the table, you have to know when to stop and play some sort of safety. Block a pocket or do something that's going to make it harder for your opponent to be able to win. So I hope that makes sense, because I can't stress that enough. I say that a lot in a lot of my APA reviews because we see stuff like that a lot. Either I do it sometimes, and then sometimes my opponent ends up doing it. Now, what happened here? I don't see the 1 ball. That looks like that's gone. Okay, and then let's look at stripes. Looks like I'm solids. All right, so listen, let's take my own advice here. Since I broke and I'm solids, what do y'all think my priority is going to be? Like, is it going to do me any good to run all of the, or here, is it going to do me any good to run all of these balls that are out in the open and not deal with this? I mean, clearly we can see it wouldn't. If I have 5 other balls that are just out in the open that I could possibly shoot into any pockets of my choosing, more than likely. But then what the heck am I going to do with my own 4 ball? Right? So my 4 ball has to become the priority. And if I don't manage to break up my 4 ball almost immediately, then I have to make myself stop. Unless I just get into like diehard modes where I'm going to try to break out the 4 ball on every single solitary shot that I take, and hope that the balls that are remaining on the table still allow me to do backup shots. Because if not, I have to know where I'm going to stop, and what ball am I going to stop on, and allow my opponent to come back to the table. Because This 8-ball does go. Let's clear that, because some of y'all might think, well, maybe the 8-ball's in trouble. The 8-ball's not in trouble. The 8-ball does go. This ball, or my 4-ball, is obviously in trouble. So more than likely, I need to go for it right away, which is going to be right. I think it's going to be right now with the 5-ball. Right? I at least tried. Did I get it? I didn't get it. All right, so do I keep on going or do I stop? What do y'all do here? Do y'all keep on going or do you stop? Y'all see what I did there? See, I'm stubborn. Sometimes I'm actually able to stop, but a lot of other times I'm stubborn. And I got it. Now, more simple mistakes. Hit that 2-ball too hard. Because now my cue ball has to go into the rail here. And I have these 2 stripes that could basically break my cue ball. Because clearly I wanted my cue ball to stop right here. And what did I say earlier? And do y'all see how I reacted? I don't know if it's probably hard to see with the Outsville logo being there. I overcut the ball and like, look, I'm just like this because I've already established by this time, like, why am I still overcutting certain shots when I know this is one of the biggest things that I've been working on that I shouldn't be doing? But I'm human and I still do it. I still do it from time to time because I should have been out. I should have been out from there. So now you can see my opponent's about to shoot the 15 ball. I would have to think we have the same exact issue here. I would hope that my opponent has some sort of plan to where as soon as possible, doesn't have to be right now, but as soon as possible, that 9 ball needs to be broken away from my 6 ball if we want to be able to run. Otherwise, there needs to be a safety call that has to happen. And like, I don't know what you would do as far as the safety is concerned. Like, would you play the 15 into the side, allow the cue ball to roll up, and then, I don't know, like hit this 13 ball straight so that way it 2 rails out like this, but then make the cue ball do this and stick behind the 14 ball? And then if you're able to get ball in hand, then you deal with this 9 ball. Like, how many of y'all would attempt to run the table from here, which is difficult, but it's certainly possible? Or how many of y'all would play a ball or 2? I mean, heck, you can even play the 15, play the 11, and then play safe on the 13 ball, or even play safe on the 12 ball. It does not matter. Play this ball like this, roll up to here, play this ball here, stop shot, and then just gently nudge this ball to where this ball banks like this, and the cue ball just banks right here like this. And then maybe get some sort of a safety and gamble on that I'm not going to give that I'm going to give you ball in hand. All right, so he plays the 15 like I thought. I mean, heck, we can make the 11 ball purposely miss the 13 and tuck the cue ball next to this ball here. Or do you go for the run out? Like, do you cut the 13 ball in right now, knowing that you can try to get your cue ball to come and bust this 9 open? See what I mean? But I don't think he sees that. I don't think he sees that. Okay, so now we cut that ball in. Oh, and then look at that. We accidentally bumped my ball out into the open. So look, if he would have made that, and look where his cue ball ended up. He's flat on the 12 ball. I don't know if he'd be able to make the 12 ball and maybe draw into this and break it out. But to me, that's just a huge risk. To me, I think that's just a huge risk. So I don't know. I would think that at this point here, he has an opportunity to maybe play a defensive shot, which I think puts it in his favor as well. Or if he's dead set on going for the run out, I would probably try to break out my 9 ball using that 13 ball like he did, like he shot it right here. Because look how the cue ball hits the short rail and then tracks its way over here. I would just make it go over there. And what happens if I don't have a shot at the 9? What if the 9 ties up with the 12? Well, I'll have a shot at this as a backup, right? But when you're looking at all of this, like if we're worried about tying up the 9 and the 12, we definitely should have stopped somewhere and played some sort of a defensive shot, I would think. Because by doing this, you bumped my 6 out into the open. I said before, the 8 goes by the 11. The 8's not in trouble. So all I have to do is make sure that I make my 6 ball and get position on my 3, and I should be good. Little bit of a stun shot here. I'm not really drawing the ball. That was a lot harder than it looked to be able to shoot that. So, like you heard me say before, the 8 passes by the 11, so I have a free path for the 8 ball into the corner pocket. There we go. I was able to take that one down. We're all tied up 1-1. So I hope what I'm saying is making sense here, because I know the more I've been doing these APA matches, the more I am repeating myself on strategies and stuff, because I think it's important that these strategies are put in place, more so that I stick to my own strategies as well, because sometimes, like I said, I'm stubborn. Sometimes when I'm like, oh, I missed it. I missed the breakout shot, so therefore I should stop. But I attempt to find another breakout shot, and if I would have not made that breakout shot, why is there something in my eye? And y'all get to see this live. There we go. If I would have not hit that breakout shot on the second try, then like, you know, I'm making the table easier for my opponent to be able to win. So there's a terrible pop shot. I pretty much just drew the cue ball all the way back. Luckily, I didn't make anything because I wouldn't want to shoot from here. Because now, like, you know, after you hear me repeat myself over and over again, all we're doing is basically the same thing over and over again. Can we run the table? If not, where are we going to stop? What are we going to allow our opponent to do that hopefully gives us an opportunity to be able to come back to the table? All right, so my opponent takes stripes. Right? So let's look at the table. If we're stripes, what the heck do we do? All right? That's the biggest issue on the table. How do we deal with that? What do y'all think? Like, maybe this is where you can take the 10 or the 9 and try to shoot the 2 in and get the ball to follow its way in, if that's going to be the plan. But if that's going to be the plan, shouldn't this be done like right away? Like probably after the second shot, because I don't think you can do it now, right? You're either going to shoot this ball or you're going to shoot this ball. But one of these two probably should be the next shot to be able to open this pocket. I think that was the 12 ball that he made. All right, so he makes the 13. Now, you might be stuck. Oh, nice 3-railer. Uh-oh. Oh, and an unfortunate scratch. All right, so I see a question that I want to go ahead and answer, and that's this. Brian Smith, you want to know if you go for solids, where do you start? Well, the problem is not whether or not if you're starting with solids or stripes, because clearly, like, when we look at the cue ball position, we can only hit the one ball. It doesn't look like we can make the one ball anywhere. So most likely starting with stripes is still going to be the better option as far as the opening option. And so, yes, you do think about, do you play the ball that's easiest to make? That's usually to get you going. Right, so I don't want to dismiss that, because that's usually something that you would want to do, is you have to, you want to claim a set, but then after that, the moment he does this, that's why I pointed out earlier, what in the world are you going to do with these 2 stripes now? Because that should be the priority, because otherwise, just like he did on the previous rack, he's going to open the table up for me and remove obstacles. So I hope that makes sense. And I can't stress anymore that sometimes the easiest shot that's on the table is not necessarily the correct shot to take, because it really just depends on the layout of the table. Now, in this case here, yes, the easiest shot is the right option to take, so that way he can claim stripes. But you can see here with the way he's controlling the cue ball and the pattern that he's choosing, he's accidentally putting himself in trouble, which obviously does not serve him a purpose. Right, this is an unfortunate scratch. Certainly, he didn't think he was going to billiard off of his 14 ball and then scratch into the side pocket. All right, that sucks. Because see, look at me. I've got ball in hand. Do you see me just taking the ball in hand and just sitting it down onto the table and just shooting a ball in? Like, I'm planning everything out. Like, I'm like, when am I going to shoot this one ball down here? All of my balls are up here. So shouldn't I just go ahead and just shoot this ball first? Maybe. Or should I shoot a ball in and then shoot this ball in? I mean, it just depends. But there's certainly not going to be a reason for me to leave this guy down here by himself for the longest time. Let's see what I decide to do. I mean, maybe I will. It all depends on the pattern. I like the 5 ball first. What the heck am I going to do? So I stun out for the 7. Am I gonna go? Am I going after the 1 now? No, I'm going for the 4. I'm definitely gonna go from the 4 to the 1. Wait, no, I'm not. What? What am I doing? Nope, I am going for the 1. That was this, actually. Bottom right. Got position on the 2. Roll the cue ball for the 6. Oh my goodness. So, here we can see, right? This is from ball in hand. This is why I want to go all the way back to here. This is from ball in hand. And I end up shooting, what? I shot 3 balls before I decided to shoot the 1 ball. When I clearly could have shot the 1 ball a whole lot sooner. I could have shot the 1 ball first, but for some reason didn't. Right? Because I could have shot from the 1 to the 7. I could have shot from the 1 to the 4. I mean, like, the sky's the... I could have shot from the 1 to the 2. I mean, the sky's the limit. So that's not to say that, you know, all I had to do was make sure that I hit this soft enough to where I don't hook myself behind the 9 ball. right? Because clearly that's what I could have done as well. Or choose just a slightly different pattern that prevents me from doing something like this. But nonetheless, I gotta let this play on because I do recover. And look how shocked I was. Like, I stopped right in place. Like, you're telling me I hit that too hard? But the answer is yes. Of course I hit it too hard. Okay. So this is in the thumbnail. So I got to explain this because anybody that's been following my channel knows that I'm a fan of using systems. Kicking systems, banking systems, aiming systems, like whatever. Like this is, I use all these tools to help me play because I don't want to just take, complete guesses. So what you're about to see here is a system that Tony Robles taught me when he was here helping me with my straight pull game. And I have a video on this. It's titled The Easiest One Rail Kicking System. And what I'm doing here is from the rail or from the ghost ball that allows me to make the 6 ball, I draw a line straight to the rail. And that's where you see I stick my cue. Now, from where the cue ball and the ball that I want to make is at, there's the midpoint. So what you're going to see me do, I can't draw this now because all the lines will be too close, but watch what I do with the butt of my cue. So you see how I shifted over? I left the tip of the cue on the rail, which is a straight line to the ghost ball, perpendicular from the rail, straight line to the ghost ball. And then I pivot the butt of my cue to where now my cue is sitting in between the cue ball and the 6 ball. So I have a line going from the point on the rail and then a line that comes straight in between the cue ball and the 6 ball. Then you're going to see me parallel shift that line. That's why I pick up my cue so I don't touch the cue ball. I parallel shift that line over the cue ball, and then now I see a point on the rail that I'm going to kick my cue ball. And since I'm bridged over the 9 ball, I am going to be hitting a little high on the cue ball, but I'm also going to be hitting directly in the center. I don't want to use any type of side spin. If I do everything correctly, if that rail is not dead, if I measured correctly, if I parallel shifted correctly, and of course if I use the correct speed with no side spin, you can get a result like that. You will at the very least, score a hit. You will not foul. You will definitely at least hit the ball that you're trying to make. But if you do everything correctly, you will do that more times than not. I cannot begin to tell y'all how many times I've made kick shots doing stuff like that. Because now from here, I'm going to cut the 3 into the side pocket. Because I didn't want to try to cut the 3 into this corner pocket because I thought I would have scratched. But as my cue ball comes down table and back up, I have position for the 8 ball here in this corner pocket. So if I explained everything just a little too quickly, just go onto my channel and look for the easiest one rail kicking system. And I'm able to take that rack down. So now I've taken the lead. Oh, my cue ball gets kicked on that one. And I broke dry. Oh, is it 3-1? Did I mess up somewhere? Thank you. Like I said, I got all this stuff going on that I usually end up making some sort of mistake, but thank you. Gotta highlight my Facebook, folks. Napoleon, thanks so much for watching on Facebook. Really do appreciate it. All right, so my opponent is solids. I didn't see what solid he shot in first. Looks like it was the 7 ball. Hey, Mac Manelli, thanks so much for being here. You have yourself a good night. All right, so now that my opponent is solids, like I said, all we're doing is just the same thing over and over again. How in the world are we going to deal with this 5 ball? We have to move the 2 out of the way, but does the 4 pass by the 13? Okay, good shot on the 2. Because if that 4 doesn't pass by the 13, taking out that 2 ball might not have been the greatest of decisions. Because it's opening up the pocket. Because I've got these 2 stripes that I have to get into this pocket as well. Okay, the 4 ball goes. He tries to bump into the 8. He doesn't want to, like, because the 8 ball is also an issue as well. Right, because now the 5 ball is a key ball that he has to be able to shoot at. Ooh, I don't think that rolled as much as he would have liked. We're down to these 2 balls here. Now, what do you do at this point? Right? It's like, is there a point to playing defense at this stage here, or do you just keep on going and like just dig yourself a deeper hole? Like, should he attempt to put the cue ball somewhere down here by just hitting the 6 ball and try to leave the cue ball on the rail here? Looks like he's gearing up to go for it. He's gonna bank the 6. Oh, he tries to cut the 6. Ends up overcutting the ball. But do you see what I mean? With the 2 ball that was here? Since we weren't able to get on the 5 ball, did he just free a path for my stripe here to go into the pocket here when I think earlier the 2 ball was blocking it? Looks like I'm sizing up for this ball. So moving that 2 ball, if there wasn't a plan for everything else, especially that 5 ball, that 2 ball was blocking that ball, and now it's wide open. This is what, following in. Now, it doesn't look like I picked the greatest of patterns here. Because, yeah, look at that. Now I'm forced to play a combo. Oh, wait. I want to back up, actually. So, there was my mistake. This is the mistake. Like, I didn't play from the 10 to the 12. Not with as low as I'm hitting on the ball. The 11 is supposed to be my next shot. With as low as I'm hitting on the ball, I probably have a touch of left spin as well. I actually wanted my cue ball to do this and shoot the 11 that way. So this right here was the mistake. I didn't actually draw the ball enough, because now since I played this and I forced myself into a combination. But I'm okay with playing this combo, mainly because I have to cut the 11 this way to cut the 14 this way. My cue ball is going this way. And since the my ball is blocking the 8 ball, I'm okay with risking this. Get these lines out of your way. My cue ball's got to be going over here somewhere, which I'm okay with that. Oh, geez, it looks like I tried to get position on the 15. But see, with my 15 ball where it's at, I'm okay with this. If my opponent banks that 8 ball out, I'm okay with taking that loss on that rack. Because I think at this point, that's what I would end up trying to do. Shoot the 6, shoot the 5, and then bank the 8. Lil Chris Fan Club, thank you so much for subscribing to my YouTube channel. Ooh, he might be able to. Can he get the from this position? Can he get the cue ball in here? Oh yeah, that would have been even better. That would have been even better. With the if he would, I mean, I don't think he wanted to have that much of a cut shot on the ball, but to be able to plant the cue ball in between and shoot the 8-ball down here, that would have been good. So from here, now that all the problems are solved, rolling cue ball on the 13 ball automatically gets me position for the 11. Because the 11 now can't go in here, so that's why I have to play the 11 now. So close to the rail, automatically have topspin to play the 11 in this pocket here. I can roll forward and get position on almost anything. And I would tend to think I'm going to leave this ball down here last. Like I'm taking the 9 next, or is it here? Why did I do that? Yeah. Why did I do that? I guess I didn't have a choice. I'm not sure I agree. I'm not even sure I agree with my own decision. I mean, I'm working with what I got. Because see here, I don't have position to be able to roll the ball. I don't even like what I did there. So let's go back to this shot here. So I roll the 11, which seems natural. Oh, you know what? I guess actually this is right. I must have just struck the ball way too hard, because I certainly don't want to try to shoot the 14, whatever this ball is, and get position on this ball. And I didn't shoot this ball next because I wasn't sure if I was going to hit the 9 ball. So I think I just hit this ball too hard. Because now with this thin cut shot, that's why I don't end up where I would like. If I was right here, I can get nice and flat on this ball, roll the ball in, and then just shoot the 8-ball down here. Because you can see here, I hit this just a little too hard. And now I have an angle to where I can't necessarily, like I can roll the ball in, but the problem is that if I roll this ball in, I'm going to hit the rail and then bounce back out, and then I have a cut shot along the rail to play the 8 down here. Because of that, that's why I don't roll the ball in. You actually see me with a little bit of bottom spin. Look what I try to do, which is risky. Right? I try to bump the 8-ball in front of the side pocket. I bumped it just a little too far. So, who does this and who does this? Because both of them are risky. You can see I marked the pocket though for this shot here. My only concern is, like what we saw before, I cut this ball so thin that the cue ball goes over here. But look at all the bottom spin I have on the ball. I'm still able to slice the 8-ball into the side pocket. All right, so I'm on the hill. So I explained this before, that when I'm doing okay when I get on the hill, then I try to end it quickly by going for the 8-ball on the break. You see it, like I'm sitting there like leaning back because look, I almost did it. I almost made the 8 on the break. Almost. And see, Like I said, rinse and repeat over and over again. What's the first thing I do when I realize I'm stripes? Right there. What did you see me do? What the heck am I going to do with that 15 ball? That's how I'm always thinking, especially if I want to do a break and run. Right? Because what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So yeah, because I'm definitely stripes. What stripe did I make? 9, 10. It's like I made the 11 ball. So the 15 ball becomes a priority. But like I said before, it's a priority. So I definitely want to try to get there as soon as possible if the table allows me to, or let alone if my playing abilities allow me to. Because clearly I can't get there now. And the only ball that allows me to deal with this 15 ball is my 9 ball. So I definitely have to make sure that I get the best position I can on the 9 ball that allows me to break up the 15 ball. So it looks like I start with the 14. So I'm not sure about that. But maybe I'm trying to get there as soon as possible. Like I don't think I wanted to touch that stripe, but I definitely wanted to try to get position on the 9 ball to be able to break this ball out and have these 3 stripes as backup shots. But I didn't get there. Like, I mean, I guess I can try, but that's super risky, especially since I messed up this ball. Dan Turner, you think you would have played a safety off of the 14? That's certainly an option. Well, it looks like the 13's next. Another high ball hit. I can't tell if I have side spin on it or not. And that might have been a touch of outside spin. I can't tell if this 2 ball is blocking. I have to be using that 6 ball to help make this ball here. Nope, never mind. It went clean in. So look how many shots I've taken, and now I'm about to try to address my problem. If I'm unsuccessful here, that might be all she wrote. Look how lucky I got. Look what the cue ball did. And yeah, see Bishop, like sometimes the camera angles, you're talking all the way back to this shot right here. Like clearly it doesn't look like it goes, right? Because look at the camera angle that I have. But if I had an up and down, or if I had along the short rails or along the long rails angle, you probably would be able to see it a little bit better. But look at what my cue ball did off of this 9 ball shot. This was ridiculous. So this is luck, right? This is clearly luck. I don't know how many times, if you set this up, I don't know how many times I'd be able to be successful at doing this. This is all I had. This was my only option I had. Look what my cue ball does when I make the 9. Hits the 15, hits the 4, slides in between the 7 and the 3, and then slides back out after it hits the 7. Did I hit the 7 on the way out or on the way in? I hit the 7 on the way out. If I'd have hit the 7 on the way in, I probably would have been snookered behind the 3 ball. So like there's no way in the world that I'm even good enough to really contemplate that, oh, I'm going to hit the top side of the 15. That's going to cause me to hit the 4 ball, slide in between the 3 and the 7. And I'm going to hit the bottom side of the 7 and slide back out. Like I don't know all of that. All I know is I'm trying to draw off my 9 ball and I want to hit my 15 and let's pray. Let's see what's going to happen. That's about as far as I can go when it comes to this. Everything else that happens after that, complete luck. Complete luck. But look at this. I have shape on the 15. I'm going to get automatic position on this ball here. And I do manage to break and run the final rack after having that mess that was right here. Almost made the 8-ball on the break, and then still managed to pull off a break and run. I was able to take that match down 5-1. So all I can stress on this one here is you kept hearing me say, what do we do when we get to this position? What do we do when we get to that position? Because clearly I've hopefully that I've demonstrated how important that is. And I've repeatedly have said that same thing over and over and over on basically every single solitary match that I've ever live streamed here. So I hope that makes sense. And if you feel like you're just the type of player that comes up, looks for obvious shots, and then just starts shooting them, and then you realize that your run breaks down at some point, then that's going to be the first thing that you're going to want to start fixing. Now, maybe you don't have the ability to see that far ahead because that takes practice, right? And that's fine. But it's definitely something that you want to work towards because it's going to help prevent putting yourself in situations where it's going to make it easier for your opponent to win. Because if you're only a skill level 4 or below, or let alone, it doesn't really matter where you're at, even if you're at the high end of the ladder, how many times have you ran the table, you get down to the last ball, or you even get down to the 8-ball, it doesn't matter, but you're not able to make that last ball, or you're not able to make that 8-ball. Like you have to bank it, you have to kick it, or do whatever. And your opponent has all their balls on the table. How many times have you been in that situation to where right after your opponent misses, guess what? You can't see your last ball, you have to bank it, or you can't see the 8-ball, you have to kick at it. You will not have a direct shot to shoot at. And that scenario happens accidentally, especially on the lower end of the skill ladder. At the higher end of the skill ladder, a lot of times that happens on purpose because your opponent realizes like, hey, I don't have to run the table. All I have to do is just protect the cue ball, right? Because that becomes a big thing. Now, as I stressed before, at the lower end of the skill ladder, I think it's perfectly fine sometimes to go ahead and just run the table, and get down to the last balls because it's more than likely that your opponent's not going to be able to run the table. But just do know that you're gambling with the notion that your opponent can get so lucky that they miss and you will not have a shot. Because if you think about the position that you're putting yourself in, to where if you're down to the last ball, if you're down to the 8-ball, and you know you're not going to make it, like you know you can't play position on, you're literally putting yourself in a position where you have to hope that your opponent misses so badly that they give you a shot. So if you're the lower skill level player that does that, where you're looking at an opponent that has ran the table and they're on the 8-ball or on the last ball, and you're looking at a table that has 7 balls, don't think that you have to keep up with your opponent shot for shot. Control the table. Don't try to run the table if you don't have the skill set to do so. Just acknowledge where your opponent's ball is at and where you don't want to leave the cue ball accidentally. Leave the cue ball on purpose in a hard spot. Make your opponent attempt to earn the victory. Because if you at least manage to squeeze out 1 or 2 ball in hands, you might be able to just steal the rack from them. I hope that makes sense, and I hope that helps you out. Whew. All right. So hopefully from there, because that pretty much wraps things up for the night. I always usually just have 2 videos that I end up trying to review. I'm trying to put together a quick break and run video of 8-ball, just like I did my last break and run video with 9-ball, where I have a GoPro on my head and I have an aerial view of the table, so we can do pretty much what I've been doing this entire time, which is break, do a complete rack analysis, and then try to be able to run the table and stick to the plan that I come up with before I even start shooting the balls after the break. Because if I don't execute the plan properly and have to call an audible, then we end up doing another analysis of the table to see, well, am I able to stick to the original plan, or do I have to change the plan slightly in order to be able to run the table? Don't know when I'm going to be able to get that video out. I can only hope that when I do stuff like this, Like there are times people can come and watch that first match of mine and just want to troll me all day long, and that's fine. You're more than entitled to do so. I do this so that way hopefully I can learn from my mistakes, and then hopefully if you're suffering from the same mistakes, not only does me doing this help me out, it also helps you out. But if you get pleasure on making fun of me because I lost, more power to you. Because the same goes for my opponent here. My opponent struggled to beat me here, so all I can hope for is that if the opponent for this last match sees this, he hopefully understands all the concepts that I was talking about. What are you going to do when you get to this spot of the table? Did you even consider it? Because if you didn't, this is what's leading up to your losses. And so if you start changing the way that you play the game and changing up your patterns or changing up your strategies, then more victories start to come. Because you could be a good shot maker, because that's exactly what my opponent was. He was a great shot maker, made a lot of good shots. Just the patterns weren't really all the greatest, in my opinion. And because of the patterns that were chosen, on top of some of the cue ball control issues, that's what basically led to some of his losses. And that's not to say that I choose the best of patterns either. Because we saw like some of the times where it's like, wait a minute, I'm saying to myself, what the heck am I doing? Because I don't remember. But hopefully all of this, like I said, not only helps me out, but it helps y'all out. Does anybody have any questions before I go for the evening? Oh, see, Bishop, would I recommend a chalk to use? Yeah, this one here, my sponsors from TaomBilliards. You can either use the Taom Pyro or the Taom V10 chalk. That's what I would recommend. Not just because they're my sponsors. Let me make sure I'm clear about that. I used to shoot with Predator chalk for the longest time. I mean, I have a bunch of Predator cues, and when I first started, I would use Predator chalk because I always like my stuff to match. The longer I started using Predator chalk, and especially when I started playing in some virtual Ghost tournaments and playing the Ghost a lot as well, the number one thing that started to turn me off with the Predator chalk, the 10, I think it's the 1080, was how much residue was left on the cue ball. Because like I could start with a spotless cue ball, and by the time I'm done running the table, there are blue dots like all over the cue ball, right? Which was fine to me, because if you watch any of my earlier APA matches, you'll see me always clean the cue ball with my hands before I set it on the table to get all the chalk off. Because there were too many times to where I would end up having like accidental skids and clings and stuff. And I finally got fed up. And I was like, well, what chalk do I want to try now? So I started watching some videos where like I think Dr. Dave did a chalk comparison. My buddy from the Billiard Corner did some chalk comparisons. And when I saw all the different ones, it was either two choices. It was either Taom or it was Kamui. So I decided to choose Taom. And I started with the Taom Pyro. And when I used the Taom Pyro, cue ball was spotless. The only time residue was left on the cue ball was when I miscued. And I think any chalk basically does that. Anytime you miscue, there's always going to be residue on the cue ball. But with the Taom Pyro that I used, it was spotless. It was clean. And the Taom Pyro that I started with has lasted me over 2 years. I've been using the same piece of chalk for almost 2 years now. And so when I was able to pick up my sponsorship from TaomBilliards, when I started using, now I'm starting to use the V10, which is just green. I do not know if there's any scientific difference between the V10 and the Pyro other than one's blue and one's green. But what I do know is both of them leave the cue ball really clean, and they last a very, very long time. So yes, they are expensive. Like it might cost you $20 to pick up a Pyro, or it might cost you $20 to pick up a V10. But if that chalk is going to last you over a year or two, like as long as you're not vigorously chalking, or if you're not doing the screw-on chalks kind of thing, if you're just brushing the chalk onto the cue like you're supposed to, it lasts a ridiculous amount of time. And that's why I couldn't recommend it anymore. I haven't really had a chance to really test out any Kamui chalks, so I wouldn't be able to recommend them. But I'm not going to certainly down them, because I do know the very first thing I remember hearing about Kamui chalks is that you only have to chalk once, and you can run, and you don't have once per rack. That's one of the first things I remember hearing about when Kamui first came out with their chalks. Chalk one time at the beginning of the rack, and you won't have to chalk again until the next rack. But I haven't tried Kamui chalks, so I haven't been able to to be able to test that theory. What I can tell you is with Masters chalk and Predator chalk, after a while, it just leaves too much residue on the cue ball. And I don't want to miss a shot because of skids or clings. And that's why I chose Taom after that. So nice long-winded answer, but I got to make sure that not only am I giving my sponsor due diligence, but I'm also just speaking facts. I'm not giving you a biased opinion. This is factual advice on, or factual data on how those pieces of chalk actually perform. Now, I did hear, though, that Predator is coming out with a new piece of chalk, and it looks striking. There's a striking resemblance between the new Predator chalk and Taom. So, because they have both a green chalk and a blue chalk coming out as well. I'd only be curious if maybe Taom might have made some chalks for Predator. I'm not saying that they did, but when I saw the commercial for the chalk, I just thought they had a very striking resemblance to them. Kevin, you want to know where can you find good tables in Northern Nevada? I mean, the only times I've been to Nevada is for is in Las Vegas, and so if you're at least near Las Vegas, I certainly would recommend Griff's, right? Because when I went in there, because they have diamond tables. In Northern Nevada, I'm not entirely sure. If anybody in the chat knows anything, don't feel free to go ahead and answer for that one, because I'm not going to know. But I also do know that APA has struck a deal with diamond tables, and now they're getting rid of all those valleys that they used to have at nationals, and they're going to have diamond tables instead, which I think is awesome. I think it's about time that they finally made that move. Okay. So I don't necessarily see any more questions. So I have 115 likes. Holy cow, that is y'all are amazing. Thank you so much for being here. I see I've got about 70 of y'all that made it here towards the end. All I can say is I absolutely appreciate it. Absolutely appreciate it. And hopefully I didn't ignore anybody on Facebook. I saw a couple of times when a Facebook message popped up. Let me see if I can find this message. I don't know if you're still on or not. You're up 3-1, and that's this message here from John Moon on Facebook. If you're still on Facebook, I hope you see this, because otherwise, if you dropped off and watched this after the fact, I do apologize that I missed your question. And that is, do you like playing on 7-foots versus 9-foots? I'm a 9-foot player table. I grew up playing on 9-foot tables when I 20 some odd years ago when I first seriously started learning how to play pool. I would rather play on a 9-foot table than I would a 7-foot table. But my area here in Central Texas is dominated by league play. And we all play on 7-foot tables like you saw here with the APA matches that I'm reviewing. But that's the main reason why I also have an 8-foot table in my home, because my garage cannot comfortably fit a 9-foot table. If it could comfortably fit a 9-foot table, I would have a 9-foot table in my garage. But it doesn't comfortably fit a 9-foot table. That's why I picked an 8-foot table, because it's very easy for me to adjust from an 8-foot to a 7-foot table. Still a little bit of difficulty being able to adjust from an 8-foot table to a 9-foot table, but it's not that much of an adjustment. It's just the balls are a little bit farther away, and the cue ball has to travel a little bit farther. So it's a little easier transitioning from 8 to 9 than it is, as well as from 8 to 7. But eventually, if I decide to upgrade my home, I will eventually be upgrading that 8-foot table to a 9-foot table. Patrick Gallagher, we used to have a Masters League, but it just didn't last very long. And we just recently changed league operators. And from my understanding, the league operator that we have now has some ideas for Masters League. So I'm hoping I might be able to do Masters League again, because I would. I think because at least at Masters League you can jump, right? I think they allow jump cues in Masters League, and that would be where you play both 8-ball and 9-ball in Masters League, rather than just one or the other. But we'll just have to wait and see what my what the new league operator has in store for us. But I do know there's some stuff coming in, hopefully for Masters League. We'll just have to wait and see. Okay. So I think from here, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. So for the 65 of y'all that are left here on YouTube, thank you so much for being here. And then, of course, everybody that watched on YouTube. I think someone said there was like almost over 100 some odd people in here, which is fantastic. And for those that watched on Facebook, thank you so much for being here. If you haven't done so already, please give the stream a thumbs up. Whether you're on Facebook or YouTube, it really doesn't matter. If you're on Facebook, please consider sharing the stream to your Facebook profile so that way your friends and family can discover who I am and hopefully learn something about the game of pool or be entertained by how poorly I played on the first match, one or the other. But at the very least, if it gains their interest in pool, then hopefully that helps the pool community grow a little bit larger and make the game a little bit more popular. As well as, of course, maybe share it to your favorite pool groups if you have some. And then, of course, when it comes to YouTube, just liking the stream helps me out in the YouTube algorithm, so that way people can discover this live stream after the fact, and then hopefully also entice more viewers and more people to come into pool. That's why I do this stuff. I have no issues showing how bad I might particularly shoot on a given night, like you saw in the first match, or how well I can actually shoot on other nights, like I did at least on the second match. So I think without further ado, everybody have a good night. Take care.